Chapter 147. So that's how it is. Alright, you may leave. Yixian nodded slightly. If he had a bird as a mount, then he wouldn't have to go around those mountains. Of course it would be more efficient. However, Huang hesitated for a moment, then said, Master, that girl called Guan Yulan is no longer in the Shattering Cloud sect. No longer in? What do you mean? Yixian didn't understand. Could it be that she went down the mountain to do a mission? It's like this. I heard that the sect master of the Shattering Cloud sect has returned. Then Miss Guan followed him to train. Huang replied. Sect master? Yixian's expression froze. Then he immediately understood. The sect master that Huang was talking about shouldn't be Zhoutsong, because he had already killed Zhoutsong. Therefore, this sect master was the true sect master of the Shattering Cloud sect, a true spirit realm expert. Then do you know where she went to train? Yixian asked again. I don't know, but Miss Guan left a letter for you. Huang took out a letter from her bosom, then left. Yixian opened the letter, and what entered his eyes was a line of graceful handwriting. There were only 4 words in this line. Let's meet again if fate wills it. What does this mean? Will she be gone for a long time? Yixian frowned. He couldn't understand the meaning of these 4 words. He asked Huang to call the cultivator who went to the Shattering Cloud sect over, but this cultivator didn't know the reason either. Helpless, Yixian could only give up. Sigh, it wasn't easy to find a girl who liked me, but she was taken away before I could even confess. That bastard Zhoutsong, if I had known earlier, I would have whipped your corpse. Yixian was very regretful. He just didn't know where the sect master of the Shattering Cloud sect took Guan Yulan. That day, Zhao Pan came again, and this time, he brought an imperial edict. By the will of the heavens, the emperor decrees. Forget it, I won't read it. Zhao Pan helplessly put away the imperial edict, then said directly, the remnants of the beast god sect have appeared in the Jade Forest County. Father has sent you to eliminate them. Just me? Yixian asked in surprise. He thought that it was finally here. He had been waiting for so long that he was about to go moldy. Of course not. There's still me, Jiang Xian, and some experts from the royal family. Zhao Pan shook his head. A mere beast god religion? You don't have to go to so many branches, do you? Yixian said with a frown. He still remembered the scene in the Valley of Corpses. Wasn't that man in black chased away by Ouyang Ming, who was at the early stage of the true spirit realm? Sigh, although this remnant of the beast god sect has only appeared recently, he seems to have already revived a true element early stage spirit beast, so we can't let our guard down. Fortunately, this spirit beast is still relatively weak and is slowly recovering its strength, so we were sent to quickly kill it. Zhao Pan replied. An early stage true energy stage spirit beast? Hearing this, Yixian's eyes immediately shot out 2 rays of light. Previously, he had devoured the corpse of a middle stage true spirit realm spirit beast, and obtained 3,000 devouring points. How many points would this true energy realm spirit beast give him? However, he was certain that it would at least help him break through to the true energy realm. Fatty bro, when do we set off? Yixian asked again. Zhao Pan immediately replied. The others have already prepared. It's up to you now. However, it's best to set off within these 2 days, lest something unexpected happens. Since that's the case, let's set off now. Yixian was bored out of his wits these few days, so he directly stood up. Aha, I knew it. The majority of the troops are already waiting for us outside the imperial city. Zhao Pan laughed and left with Yixian. Master, please be careful. Huang bowed. In the profound Sun Empire, other than the imperial city, there were 16 counties. If one were to rush from the imperial city to the Jade Forest County, it would take at least 10 days to half a month. However, the royal family had specialized mounts. When Yixian arrived outside the imperial city, he was also shocked. From afar he saw a super rock that was as large as an airplane. It was similar to the one he saw at the Valley of Corpses. This is specially bred by the royal family. It's a spirit beast. It will only take 2 days to reach the Jade Forest County. Zhao Pan approached and said to Yixian, don't be fooled by its size. It's only at the early stage of the true spirit realm. I can kill it with a single slap. Yixian was also extremely envious. He was thinking that after this incident, He would borrow one and return to Lianyun City. At this moment there were already several figures on the back of this giant rock. Other than Jiang Xian there were 3 others. That middle-aged man is one of my uncles. He's at the true energy realm. However, he won't make a move this time. He will only ensure our safety. Zhao Pan. After he finished speaking, he pointed at the 2 people behind the middle-aged man and said, "Those 2 are our royal family's consecrators. They're both at the peak of the true spirit realm." Yixian nodded silently. Even if he wasn't included, there were still 4 people at the peak of the true spirit realm. Moreover, Zhao Pan had a mid-grade spirit weapon, which was enough to deal with the early-stage true energy realm spirit beast. "Greetings, General Yi." When the 2 consecrators saw Yixian, they hurriedly clasped their fists. Zhao Pan's uncle also smiled and said, "Heroes indeed come from the young. Not only is your talent outstanding, but you're also proficient in refining weapons and pills. You're truly a pillar of our profound Sun Empire." "Senior, you flatter me," Yixian said humbly. Although the profound Sun Empire had only been established for 1,000 years, the Zhao family had always stood strong. Therefore, the Zhao family was the largest family in the empire. Not arrogant nor impatient. "Good, I'm Zhao Chongwen. This time I'll ensure your safety." The middle-aged man nodded and said, although the spirit beast wasn't a threat, Yixian and the other 2 were the future of the profound Sun Empire. Nothing could happen to them. As for Jiang Xian, he was also convinced by Yixian. He was also the one who took the true energy pill that Zhao Pan gave him last time. At this moment, he had already broken through to the peak of the true spirit realm. "Alright, go early and return early. Come on up," Zhao Chongwen said. Yixian and Zhao Pan both jumped onto the back of the spirit rock. Then the spirit rock flapped its huge wings and flew up. Ever since Yixian merged with the mid-grade 100 Beasts bloodline, he had a strange feeling towards spirit beasts. He remembered that if he raised the 100 Beasts bloodline to the peak, it would become the Beast King bloodline. At that time, he would be able to make all beasts submit to him. However, he was only at the mid-grade bloodline now. At most, he could sense demonic beasts. Moreover, he couldn't sense them too far away. This was the hidden attribute of the 100 Beasts bloodline. The spirit rock started flying towards the Jade Forest County. It wouldn't take long before it arrived. 2 days later, the spirit rock appeared in the sky above the Jade Forest County. At this moment, it was flying towards a dangerous place in the Jade Forest County, Blackwind Mountain. In less than 2 hours, the spirit rock arrived above the Blackwind Mountain. "Everyone be careful. The remnants of the Beast God sect can communicate with demonic beasts. Moreover, they have some special methods to increase the strength of demonic beasts and spirit beasts. Don't lower your guard," Zhao Chongwen said. Yixian and the others nodded silently. End of this chapter. Chapter 148. Yixian and the rest rode on the spirit beast rock, flying deeper into the valley. At this moment, Zhao Chongguang suddenly felt that something was wrong, so he hurriedly slapped the spirit rock's head. In an instant, the spirit beast rock was blasted to death and began to fall. "Uncle One, what are you doing?" Zhao Pan asked in shock. "It's under someone's control and is flying up. If it reaches a high altitude and throws us down, we'll all die," Zhao Chongwen shouted. The spirit beast rock below them was raised by him, so he was very familiar with it. He had no choice but to act. "We're not high from the ground. Everyone hold on tight and jump up when we're about to land," Zhao Chongguang shouted. At this time, everyone was falling, so they could only grab onto the spirit beast rock's feathers to prevent being blown away by the wind. The spirit beast rock fell diagonally. Everyone on its back held their breaths and concentrated. When they were 30 meters below the ground, they threw a palm strike at the spirit beast rock, using their true spirits to slow down the fall. Bang! 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 The 6 of them continuously threw their true spirits at the ground and finally landed safely. Fortunately, the spirit beast rock was only 100 meters above the ground. If it was 100 meters above the ground, then even if they used their true spirits, they would have been smashed to pieces. So close, that damned beast god religion remnant. I had no choice but to kill it. It seems that the beast god religion remnant already knows we're here, Zhao Chongwen said angrily. This spirit beast rock was something he had raised since it was young, spending an unknown amount of money and effort. But now it was killed by him with his own hands. Thus, he couldn't wait to tear that beast god religion remnant apart. Uncle One, what should we do now? Zhao Pan turned around and asked. I'm only here to ensure your safety, you can ask Yi Xian. Zhao Chongwen replied. Although he was filled with hatred, he still remembered the purpose of his trip. Although the beast god religion remnant was dangerous, Zhao Chongguang wanted to train Yi Xian and the others, so it was best for him not to interfere. Immediately, Zhao Pan and the other three turned to look at Yi Xian. Only now did they discover that there wasn't a speck of dust on Yi Xian's body. Just now when they jumped down from the sky, although they used their true spirits to reduce their speed, they still rolled on the ground after landing, so their bodies were dirty. Kai Xian was still dressed in white. This proved that Yi Xian had landed safely. Yi Xian, who had the bloodline of an intermediate wind-seeking leopard, naturally wouldn't fall just because of this height. At this moment, he was looking in a certain direction and frowning. Let's go this way. The remnants should be here. Yi Xian pointed at a fork in the road at 10 o'clock. How did you know? Zhao Pan was surprised. Premonition. Yi Xian replied casually. After the 100 Beasts bloodline was raised to the intermediate level, it would gain a hidden attribute, which was the ability to sense demonic beasts and spirit beasts. And in the direction Yi Xian was pointing at, there was an aura that made his heart palpitate. Therefore, he concluded that the remnants of the beast god sect were there. That's right. This road leads to the depths of Black Wind Mountain. The map in my hand also indicates that this is the most likely hiding place of the remnants of the beast god sect. Zhao Chongwen took out a sheepskin map. Zhao Pan and the others were surprised, but they didn't ask. They thought that it was just Yi Xian's intuition. At that moment they madly dashed in the direction that Yi Xian pointed at. Now that they didn't have any bird mounts, they could only travel on foot. Zhao Pan and the other three were all at the peak of the true spirit realm, and each of them had a spirit-level martial arts, so their speed wasn't slow. As for Yi Xian, he didn't use any martial arts. If he ran with all his might, perhaps only Zhao Chongwen could keep up with him. After running for a while, they discovered a large group of demonic beasts in front of them. There were at least 40 of them. However, before the others could approach, Yi Xian directly took out his star-chasing bow. With a few swings he killed all the demonic beasts. Good archery. Zhao Chongwen couldn't help but praise. He saw that the demonic beasts were at least 500 meters away from them. However, Yi Xian was able to kill these demonic beasts one by one from 500 meters away. This wasn't something that an ordinary person could do. Of course, Yi Xian was only able to do this thanks to his intermediate-level archery talent. Next, everyone follow me. Yi Xian suddenly shouted. His body slanted and he actually headed towards the forest on the left. What is he doing? Zhao Chongwen and the others were a little surprised, but they didn't ask any questions and directly followed him. However, not long after they discovered something. They actually avoided more than 10 groups of demonic beasts. Amazing! Even I don't know how to avoid them. How did you know? Zhao Chongwen finally couldn't help but ask. An archer's eyesight is wider than an ordinary person. Yi Xian casually replied. This time he really did see with his eyes. Zhao Chongwen instantly understood. However, this also saved them a lot of time. It seemed that the remaining member of the beast god sect was indeed inside. Therefore they couldn't delay. What if the remaining member of the beast god sect ran away? The group followed Yi Xian's footsteps, running left and right. With their strength they could easily eliminate these demonic beasts. However, if they attacked they would expose their location. At that time, the remaining member of the beast god sect would gather a large number of demonic beasts, and then they would be in trouble. Using a sea of people tactic was a terrifying thing. After avoiding dozens of groups of demonic beasts, Yi Xian finally saw a demonic beast that was different from the rest. No, it wasn't a demonic beast. It was a spiritual beast. It's a flame lizard. An adult flame lizard can reach the peak of the true spirit realm. Why is there such a high-level spiritual beast in our profound Sun Empire? Zhao Chongwen recognized it at a glance. In the profound Sun Empire, spiritual beasts were relatively rare due to the lack of Yuan Qi. Although the Black Wind Mountain and the 18 mountain ranges of Lianyun had a similar level of danger, it was impossible for a spiritual beast to reach the peak of the true spirit realm. Without a doubt, this must be the doing of the remaining member of the beast god sect. Yixian looked at the red lizard that was as big as a bus. It opened its mouth and spat fire, and he couldn't help but stop in his tracks. Could it be the one that I sensed just now? No, it's not this spiritual beast. There's a stronger one behind it. Yixian thought to himself, and then took out his star-chasing bow. Sharpshooter. A true spirit arrow flew out like lightning, and instantly pierced through the body of the red lizard. Instant kill. It's really powerful. That's the skill you used to kill the berserk black bear that was comparable to the middle stage of the true spirit realm, right? Zhao Chongwen couldn't help but ask. Yes. Yixian nodded and directly flew over. He kept the flame lizard into the devouring space, and then devoured its corpse. Ding! Host has devoured a spiritual beast's corpse. The reward is 3,000 devouring points. Ding! Because the 100 beast essence blood slot is full, it cannot be upgraded before the 1000 beast bloodline is integrated. End of this chapter. Chapter 149. As for the inner core, Yixian didn't devour it because he knew that he couldn't break through for the time being. He might as well keep it for now. Zhao Pan might need it more than him. However, he estimated that the inner core of a peak true spirit realm beast was worth between 20,000 to 40,000 devour points. Let's go. Zhao Chongwen and the others didn't have any objections to Yixian putting away the corpse of the demonic beast. Zhao Chongwen was holding the frostlight sword that Yixian had made. It had greatly increased his strength, so he wouldn't argue with Yixian. However, seeing a peak true spirit realm beast here, it seemed that they had come to the right place. Perhaps they would encounter other spirit beasts later on. The group started to be cautious. Although they had the protection of their true spirits, they wouldn't be able to withstand a sneak attack from a spirit beast. At this moment they had already run into a valley. According to Yixian's senses, the aura that made his heart palpitate was in this small valley. At this moment, a laughter suddenly echoed in the valley. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to your burial ground. This voice was very unfamiliar and sounded very neutral. It was unknown whether the voice belonged to a man or a woman. Sure enough, we came to the right place. Yixian and the rest thought in their hearts. Remnants of the beast god sect, you dare to stir up trouble in my profound sun empire? Come out and die. Zhao Pan shouted. Little fatty, you sure talk big. Don't worry, all of you will die here. I will offer your flesh and blood to Lord Demon Wolf. As long as he devours your flesh and blood, Lord Demon Wolf will be able to recover to the true profound realm. This voice echoed in the valley. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. True profound realm. It seemed that they were still a step too late. As expected, he will recover by devouring human flesh. However, I would like to see what kind of ability you have to make us all die here. Zhao Chongwen also spoke. Alright, since you want to die so quickly, I'll fulfill your wish. As soon as he finished speaking, roars rang out from all directions. Then inhuman figures walked out of the dark forest one by one. They were all spirit beasts. So there is. To think that so many spirit beasts would appear at the same time. What a capable fellow. To think that so many spirit beasts would appear at once. Celestial golden ape, scarlet blaze lion, violet striped battle bear. Zhao Chongwen was very knowledgeable, and he recited a series of names. At this time there were more than 10 spirit beasts, and they all looked very strong. They were probably either at the middle stage or the peak of the true spirit realm. Moreover, the aura of the purple striped battle bear was especially strong. It might even be in the true energy realm. Yixian quickly looked around. Among the dozen or so spirit beasts there was no demon wolf. In other words, the demon wolf had not appeared yet. The information was wrong. So many spirit beasts actually appeared. That demon wolf strength is probably not at the early stage of the true energy boundary. Zhao Chongwen said with a serious expression. Just now when the voice mentioned the true profound realm, it scared him, because their profound sun empire didn't have a true profound realm expert yet. Ha ha ha, do you really think you obtained the information? I deliberately released it. My purpose is to send you to your deaths. After a few loud laughs, the voice said, Lord Demon Wolf, come out. Your food is here. When Yixian and the rest heard this, their faces froze. The main character was coming out. Ta-ta. The sound of footsteps entered everyone's ears. They turned their heads and saw a blood-red figure walking out of the forest. This was a demon wolf with scarlet fur. Its body was huge, almost comparable to a tank. Furthermore, it was actually injured. Its entire body was dripping with blood, and one could faintly see the eerie white bones of its wounds. This was the demon wolf that was resurrected by the remnants of the beast god sect? Everyone be careful. This spirit beast is not simple. I'm afraid it's at the peak of the true energy boundary. Fortunately, it hasn't recovered to its peak. When the time comes, I'll hold it back. You guys quickly kill the other spirit beasts. Zhao Chongwen's face was gloomy because he was only at the early stage of the true energy boundary. Even if he had a mid-grade spirit weapon, it would be difficult for him to fight this blood wolf for a long time. He could only hold it back for a while. Now, Yixian also understood the seriousness of this matter. A spirit beast at the peak of the true energy boundary was not something he could handle. If he could break through, then it would be a different story. However, the things in his interspatial ring were not enough for him to break through. Moreover, he was the one who forged the mid-grade spirit weapon, so he could not devour it. Then there was only one way. He would let Zhao Chongwen buy some time while he killed the other spirit beasts. Then he would break through and help. The spirit beasts surrounding them were not low level. As long as he killed a few, he would be able to break through. However, he was afraid that Zhao Pan and the rest would not be able to withstand the first wave of attacks, and that Zhao Chongwen would be killed by the blood wolf. Alright, Lord Demon Wolf, please enjoy. When this voice sounded out, the surrounding dozen or so spirit beasts roared before charging towards Yixian and the others. Rumble. These were all large spirit beasts. The sound of their footsteps was deafening. Go, let's end this quickly. Zhao Chongwen shouted and charged toward the giant blood wolf with the frostlight sword in hand. Yixian also took out his star-chasing bow. However, instead of killing the true energy boundary purple-striped war bear, he attacked the other spirit beasts. This was because the number of spirit beasts exceeded their expectations. They had to reduce the number of spirit beasts. Sharpshooter. Yixian's eyes flashed. He raised his hand and shot an arrow at the nearest red blaze lion. With various amplifications, the arrow shot out like a bolt of lightning, instantly piercing through the red blaze lion's head. Instant kill. However, just as Yixian was about to shoot a second arrow, he suddenly heard the sound of something breaking through the air. What? Yixian turned his head to look and saw a petite voice quickly flying towards him. He focused his eyes and saw that it was a small sparrow whose entire body was filled with electricity. This is also a spirit beast? Yixian was shocked. This small sparrow was extremely fast, almost catching up to his speed. However, he did not dodge. Instead, he channeled his true spirit and formed a lotus around his body. Lotus armor. Whoosh! An arrow shot out and pierced through a rhinoceros spirit beast, instantly killing it. However, at this moment, the small sparrow had already rushed in front of him and crashed into him. What surprised him was that the small sparrow crashed into the lotus armor. Then it suddenly emitted a dazzling light and broke through the lotus armor. Its small beak pecked Yixian's shoulder. What? It broke through? Yixian was shocked. He was at the peak of the true spirit realm. His spirit-level martial arts could not be broken through by just anyone. However, this small sparrow broke through it easily. It was obvious that this small sparrow was more difficult to deal with than the other spirit beasts. End of chapter. Chapter 150. Yixian drew his bow again. Just as he was about to shoot the little sparrow, his body suddenly froze. What? There's a paralyzing effect? Haha, you're quite strong. Of course I'll kill you first. The neutral voice came from the valley. What a joke. Intermediate 100-flower bloodline. Deactivate. Yixian's eyes flashed. 1 second later, the paralyzing effect was gone. However, that 1 second was enough for the true energy stage purple-striped war bear to arrive in front of him. Roar! The purple-striped bear extended its paw, which was several times larger than Yixian's face, and slammed down. Intermediate fighter bloodline fusion successful. So what if you're in the true energy realm? Get lost. Yixian roared. His true spirit had already formed a head that looked like a wolf and a tiger on his arm, and he threw it out. Spiritual level martial technique, Tiger Wolf Roar. Yixian's devour points were calculated in the tens of thousands. It was more than enough to buy a spiritual level martial technique that was worth a few thousand devour points. Roar. A woo. Two different sounds rang out. Yixian's fist and the bear's paw collided. Pung! When the two forces collided, thousands of shockwaves rolled out. Yixian's fist was actually on par with the true energy realm spiritual beast, which was known for its strength. Second level roar, get lost. Yixian's eyes flashed. His true spirit surged out again. After circling his arm a few times, it formed an even stronger force. Boom! A huge figure was sent flying. It was the true energy realm purple striped bear. How is this possible? As the purple striped bear was sent flying, the neutral voice rang out again. Bear-type spiritual beasts were the most powerful of all the commonly seen species. However, an early-stage true energy realm purple striped bear was sent flying by a peak true spirit realm martial artist. This was impossible. However, this was the truth. I'll kill you first. While the purple striped warbear was flying away, Yixian pulled on his star-chasing bow. Sharpshooter, die for me. Swish. With a flash of cold light, it traversed more than 10 meters in an instant and pierced through the bear's head. Instant kill. Xiao. At the same time that the purple-striped warbear's head was pierced through, Yixian also directly flew out. Before the purple-striped warbear's corpse fell to the ground, Yixian reached out and grabbed the purple-striped warbear's fur. Devour. The corpse of the purple-striped warbear disappeared. Ding! Host has devoured a spirit beast's corpse. The reward is 15,000 devouring points. Ding! Host has devoured a spiritual beast's inner core. The reward is 100,000 devouring points. Ding! Host has broken through to the true element boundary. When Yixian heard the system notification, his killing intent skyrocketed. The true spirit in his body instantly transformed into an even more powerful true essence. Before the battle with the purple-striped warbear, he had directly exchanged for a new bloodline and upgraded it to the intermediate level, the pugilist bloodline. This pugilist bloodline could not only increase the power and comprehension of fist-type martial arts, but also increase the speed of one's attacks. Although this bloodline was extremely expensive, spending 50,000 devouring points to upgrade it to the intermediate level, it was definitely worth it. It's time for you to die. Yixian looked at the several huge figures in the field and suddenly drew his bow. Sharpshooter. 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 After merging with the pugilist bloodline, Yixian's hand speed was astonishing. In the blink of an eye, several spiritual arrows were shot out. Zhao Pan and the rest closed their eyes and found that there was a bloody hole in their opponent's body. In an instant, 4 or 5 spirit beasts were killed. At this time, only 3 spirit beasts and the blood-red wolf were left. No, there was still one more. Zizi. A crisp sound entered Yixian's ears. Immediately after, Yixian felt a pain in his chest. He had been pecked by the little sparrow again. However, the intermediate level 100 flower bloodline had already dispelled the numbing effect once. Therefore, this numbing effect was no longer effective on Yixian. You little sparrow, die for me too. Yixian looked at the little sparrow that was fleeing in panic and suddenly drew his bow. Xiao. Pooh. The sparrow, which was only the size of a palm, was shot through by the arrow and fell from the sky. At this time, Zhao Pan suddenly shouted, Yixian, don't worry about us. Go help Uncle One. Now that the pressure had been reduced, there were only 3 spirit beasts at the peak of the true spirit realm left, and they were also at the peak of the true spirit realm. With Zhao Pan's help, it should be easy to deal with the intermediate level spirit artifact sword. However, it was different on Zhao Chongwen's side. Yixian glanced around and saw Zhao Chongwen fighting with the blood-red wolf. Coincidentally, at this time the blood wolf pounced and knocked Zhao Chongwen down. Then with a bite, it actually bit off Zhao Chongwen's right arm. Not good. Seeing this scene, Yixian's expression changed. Zhao Chongwen's right arm had been bitten off. Then his head would be next. A woo. The blood-red wolf did not swallow the right arm. Instead, it spat it to the side and opened its mouth, ready to bite off Zhao Chongwen's head. This time, Xiao. Pooh. The sound of the arrow piercing through the air disappeared. The lightning-fast arrow directly penetrated the blood-red wolf's body. The blood-red wolf's appetite was thus interrupted. as expected of a spirit beast at the peak of the true element realm. My great precision did not penetrate it. Yixian was shocked. However, he did not dare to be careless. He quickly flew over and shot a few arrows at the same time. Although the extremely penetrative 100 steps piercer didn't pierce through the blood giant wolf's body, it was still able to injure it. Therefore, Yixian still had the strength to fight. Xiao! 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 The sound of the arrows piercing through the air was heard. Before the blood-red wolf could react, it was shot several times. However, it cleverly avoided its vital parts and was not killed instantly. Awoo! The blood-red wolf was very angry. It was just about to eat when it was interrupted by Yixian. Then it changed its target and pounced on Yixian. Yixian, run! Zhao Chongwen shouted. However, Yixian did not seem to hear him. One man and one wolf faced each other and instantly clashed. At such a close distance, the bow and arrow were useless. Therefore, Yixian directly took out the cold light sword. 10,000 flower sword technique, 3rd level. As Yixian stabbed out with his sword, a burst of spirit energy shot out from the tip of the cold light sword. In an instant, the spirit energy split into 72 rays of light and attacked the giant blood-red wolf. Because there were too many of them, the blood-red wolf was instantly pierced. One of its eyes was even blinded. Good chance. The blood-red wolf paused. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yixian suddenly punched the wolf's forehead with his left fist. Spirit-level martial technique, Tiger Wolf Roar. End of chapter. Chapter 151. That powerful impact instantly poured out in torrents. However, before the two of them could make contact, another burst of impact came in contact with each other. Tiger Wolf Double Roar. Boom! The blood-red wolf, which weighed at least 2 tons, was knocked back several meters. The claw marks on its 4 limbs left 4 clear marks on the ground. This punch landed squarely on the blood-red wolf's forehead, making it dizzy. Yixian would not miss such a good opportunity. He immediately switched weapons. Sharpshooter, die for me. Swish. A cold light flashed and directly entered the eyes of the blood-red giant wolf, penetrating its head. The violent spiritual force rolled its head into meat paste, causing it to die instantly. The blood-red wolf was dead. However, at this moment, there were still 2 spiritual beasts struggling at death's door. The speed at which Yixian killed the blood-red wolf was much faster than Zhao Pan and the others. This strength was enough to intimidate everyone present. Impossible, impossible, you actually killed Lord Demon Wolf. This is impossible. The neutral voice suddenly cried out involuntarily. You evil remnant of the beast god sect, see if I don't find you. Yixian's expression turned serious. He instantly fused another bloodline. Mid-level supersonic bat bloodline. After the fusion, Yixian suddenly closed his eyes. His body also emitted waves of invisible energy. This was the effect of the supersonic bat bloodline. It could use echoes to locate its target. Although the distance was only a few hundred meters, this was a small valley. Wang! Found it! Yixian suddenly opened his eyes and drew his bow in a certain direction. Sharpshooter, sharpshooter! Swish! The cold light directly entered the forest. Humph! Yixian coldly snorted and put down the star-chasing bow. At this moment, Zhao Pan and the others had just killed the last 2 spiritual beasts. The field was littered with corpses. Zhao Pan and the others were so shocked that they could not speak. The blood-red wolf that bit off Zhao Chongwen's arm was actually killed by Yixian. Wasn't this strength a little too heaven-defying? Senior, are you okay? Yixian maintained his calm and hurriedly rushed forward to check on Zhao Chongwen's injuries. Zhao Chongwen was also shocked. However, he looked at the broken arm that was still holding the cold light sword and shook his head helplessly. Sigh, it seems that I have to practice my sword with my left hand in the future. Not necessarily, Yixian suddenly said. He directly retrieved Zhao Chongwen's severed arm and connected it to Zhao Chongwen's wound. At the same time, he took out a pill and handed it over. Senior, take this pill. What is this? Zhao Chongwen was a little surprised, but after asking, he swallowed the pill. Yixian's a little bit. Right now, he trusted Yixian very much. If it wasn't for the latter, his head would have been bitten off. However, what happened next completely stunned him. He felt his broken arm begin to itch, as if it was bitten by 10,000 ants. But he could still endure this pain. What shocked him was that the wound on his arm began to heal. After a few seconds his arm was connected and even the scar was gone. This. Zhao Chongwen was so shocked that he couldn't speak. It wasn't impossible to connect a broken arm, but it required a skilled medical expert. But Yixian only gave him a pill and it was connected. Did he eat a divine pill? This pill was exchanged by Yixian from the devouring system. One pill was worth 50,000 devouring points. It was extremely expensive. However, Yixian felt that he would buy it even if it cost him 100,000 points. This is a pill that this junior obtained by chance. As long as the wound hasn't healed, it can be reconnected. Yixian said slowly. "Sai, I'm old now. The world belongs to you youngsters. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid my head would be separated from my body." Zhao Chongwen said gratefully. "Senior is too kind. If it wasn't for you holding back the demon wolf, I wouldn't have been able to kill it." Yixian said humbly. This was the truth. If it wasn't for Zhao Chongwen, they would have been completely wiped out. Similarly, if it wasn't for him, Zhao Pan and the others would have become the demon wolf's meal. What happened to the beast god sect? Zhao Chongwen stood up and asked. "I killed him." Yixian replied. "That's good. Don't let him escape." The beast god sect has a secret technique that can increase the strength of spirit beasts at the cost of their lifespan. Zhao Chongwen said emotionally. Hearing this, Yixian finally understood why these spirit beasts were so strong. Since Zhao Chongwen was fine, Yixian began his most important task, cleaning up the mess. However, he didn't devour all of the corpses. He kept the cores. There were a total of 12 true spirit realm spirit beast cores, 1 true element middle stage, and 1 true element peak stage. As for the corpses, he devoured them all. However, the value of the corpses and cores were too different. Only the true element peak stage blood red wolf gave Yixian 100,000 devouring points. When Yixian finished collecting the corpses, the 2 consecrators also brought over the corpse of the beast god sect survivor. Looking at the corpse that looked like an old man in his 70s or 80s, Zhao Chongwen sighed. As expected, he used his lifespan as the price to forcefully increase the rank of the spirit beast. Even if he didn't die, he wouldn't be able to live for long. With his supersonic bat bloodline, Yixian could determine that there were no other spirit beasts in this small valley. With this, the matter of the beast god sect could be considered to have come to an end. However, this time the emperor had sent Yixian to eliminate the beast god sect survivor. Hence, he still had to hand over the loot. After being saved by Yixian, Zhao Chongwen was grateful and directly said, "Yixian, it's all thanks to you this time. I can make the decision this time. You only need to hand over the Blood Wolf's core to the Emperor. The rest is yours." "Thank you, Senior." Yixian hurriedly expressed his gratitude. The value of a true element peak stage spirit beast's core had already exceeded his imagination. He didn't dare to take it all for himself. Furthermore, he heard that the old ancestor of the profound Sun Empire was at the true element peak stage. With this core, he might be able to break through to the true profound realm. This was a huge breakthrough. At that time, the strength of the profound Sun Empire would increase greatly. Yixian had already devoured all the corpses on the ground, and his cultivation had increased by quite a bit. Immediately, he took out 4 spirit beast inner cores at the peak of the true spirit level, and gave them to Zhao Pan and the others. Zhao Pan and the other 3 didn't put in much effort today, but they were all at the true spirit realm. This core was extremely important to them. With the core, their chances of breaking through would be much higher. Hence, they didn't refuse. After that, Yixian took out the true element early stage purple striped warbear's core. Suddenly, he remembered that he had already devoured the core. End of chapter. Chapter 152. Fortunately, Zhao Chongwen had told him that he had reached the bottleneck and would be able to break through if he couldn't pass it. In that case, Yixian would devour all of the remaining spirit beast's inner cores without exception. In an instant, his devour points skyrocketed by hundreds of thousands. 650,000 devouring points. I didn't think I would be so rich. However, middle-grade spirit-level martial techniques are too expensive. I don't think it's enough. Yixian felt helpless. After swallowing so many things, he still had a long way to go before he could break through. The remnants of the beast god sect had been eradicated, and Yi Xian and the others were unharmed. Therefore, they left immediately and prepared to report back to the imperial capital. However, things weren't that simple. General Yi is so young and promising. He's only 16 years old and he's already in the true energy realm. The Raging Fire Empire is doomed. Yet, even a peak true energy realm spirit beast couldn't do anything to him. He'll definitely pass the Soaring Sky Mansion's test. General Ye's talent is rare even in a high-ranked empire. Along the way, the two consecrators kept praising him. They felt that they had wasted most of their lives. Jiang Xian's impression of Yi Xian had changed. Now that he had obtained another spirit beast core, he was extremely grateful to Yi Xian. However, Yi Xian wasn't proud. Killing a peak true energy realm crimson wolf wasn't a big deal. Not to mention that the wolf had just been revived and was weak. Moreover, he was a human who could use true energy realm martial techniques and spirit weapons. His intelligence was much higher than a spirit beast's. Soon they walked out of the Black Wind Mountain. The demonic beasts along the way were all swallowed by Yi Xian and the others. Their cultivation base had improved a lot. Now Zhao Chongwen was so shocked that he couldn't speak. He saw Yi Xian swallowing thousands of demonic beasts with his own eyes. How big was his interspatial ring? An interspatial ring was worth 10 lower-grade crystal stones. Under normal circumstances it was around 100 cubic meters. However, Yi Xian's interspatial ring was probably more than 10,000 cubic meters. However, what they did not know was that Yi Xian's devouring space was very cheap. One devouring point could increase the devouring space by 1 cubic meter, so it was almost infinite. Furthermore, Yi Xian had chosen to devour them directly and did not put them away. There were very few things in his space. Zhao Chongwen did not think too much about it. After all, Yi Xian had already created several miracles. However, just as they were about to leave Black Wind Mountain, Yi Xian suddenly stopped in his tracks. Hold on. Yi Xian stopped in his tracks and said, "What's wrong?" Zhao Pan asked. "This chapter is not finished, please turn the page," asked in astonishment. "There seems to be someone." Yi Xian suddenly closed his eyes and carefully sensed his surroundings. With the supersonic bat bloodline, he was about 500 meters away. With his probing, he really did discover a few people sneaking around in the forest. Just now, he had only heard a trace of movement. He did not expect that there was actually someone. Right at this moment, an explosive shout suddenly rang out. "Kill!" Following that, several sharp sounds of something breaking through the air could be heard. "Someone's ambushing us. Be careful!" Yi Xian shouted. What was even more unexpected was that those people who were sneakily hiding in the woods would actually attack them directly. Could they be bandits or mountain bandits? But in the next moment, he immediately rejected that idea. Because these people were all true energy realm experts. Boom! Boom! The ambushers' attacks were fast, but Yi Xian was even faster. In an instant these attacks were scattered. Zhao Chongwen and the others also reacted and hurriedly took out their weapons to counterattack. "Who are you scoundrels?" Zhao Chongwen shouted. "Dead people don't need to know." Someone on the other side replied. Yi Xian did a rough calculation. The other side had 3 true energy realm experts and 6 peak true spirit realm experts. In the Profound Sun Empire, only the Profound Sun Imperial family had such strength. However, Zhao Chongwen was a member of the Imperial family and Zhao Pan was the Crown Prince, so it was impossible. "It's the Raging Fire Empire spies in our country. Kill them." Zhao Chongwen immediately understood the situation and fought back. "Is that so?" Hearing this, Yi Xian did not care so much anymore. Since they dared to attack them, only death awaited them. The 3 true energy realm experts were already charging towards them. As for the other 6, they were assisting from afar. Sharpshooter. Yi Xian's right hand moved quickly. In a second, 6 arrows were shot out, directly killing the 6 peak true spirit realm experts. What? The 3 true energy realm experts were shocked. Before they could rush over, 6 of their subordinates had been killed by Yi Xian. "I'll hold Zhao Chongwen back. You guys kill that kid and the others first," an old man shouted. "With just the 2 of you?" Zhao Chongwen sneered when he heard those words. The Profound Sun Empire and the Raging Fire Empire were both low-ranked empires with similar strength. Most importantly, they were only at the early stage of the true energy boundary. Excluding Yixian, Zhao Chongwen, who had a middle-grade spirit artifact, had the ability to stop 2 of them. With Zhao Pan and the other 4, killing these 3 was a piece of cake. Not to mention there was also Yixian, who had killed the peak true spirit realm expert Xue Lang. The 2 sides instantly came into contact. Zhao Chongwen only exchanged blows with the old man. As for the other 2, they were given to Yixian and the others. A true energy realm expert had his eyes on Yixian. He directly rushed to Yixian's side and stabbed out with his sword. Lotus armor. Yixian instantly formed a large lotus and wrapped himself in it. When the sword stabbed into the lotus armor, it did not break. What? True energy realm? This expert was shocked. Just now, Yixian had killed 6 of their peak true spirit realm experts the moment he made a move. This method wasn't something that a young man could possess. But now, he actually felt that Yixian was not condensing his true energy, but his true energy. Do you think you've offended the wrong person? Yixian smiled. He raised his right hand and instantly chopped off the expert's right arm. Then he kicked out and sent the expert flying. By the time the expert reacted, he found himself flying. He glanced around and realized that his arm was already flying. Yixian raised his hand again and caught the expert's weapon. Devour. The low-grade spirit artifact was directly devoured, and the severed arm fell to the ground. With Yixian's current strength, killing the opponent was as easy as snapping a finger. However, when he saw that Zhao Pan and the others were at ease, he immediately started to play. Not good run. The expert immediately realized that he was no match for Yixian, and immediately turned to flee. You want to escape from me? Don't even think about it. Myriad Flower Sword, 3rd level, die for me. Yixian turned into a streak of light, and instantly intercepted the true energy realm expert. Then he casually stabbed out with his sword. Pooh! 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 The expert's eyes widened. He did not even have time to use his defensive martial arts before his body was pierced into a sieve and died instantly. End of chapter. Chapter 153. Seeing the true energy boundary expert lying in a pool of blood, Yixian snorted lightly. He turned around and saw that Zhao Chongwen and Zhao Pan had the upper hand. Mid-grade spiritual weapon? Impossible, how can you have a mid-grade spiritual weapon? The old man shouted. The one in this fatty's hand is also one. Another true energy boundary expert exclaimed. Wrong information, let's go. The old man shouted. Zhao Chongwen's eyes flickered as he shouted. You think you can come and go as you please? Who do you think Zhao Chongwen is? Stay. A cold light flashed and the old man's severed arm flew into the air. One side was a low-grade spiritual weapon, while the other side was a mid-grade spiritual weapon. The difference was too great, and the old man was no match for Zhao Chongwen. On the other hand, the opponent of Zhao Pan's group reacted quickly. In the blink of an eye, he was dozens of meters away, preparing to enter the forest. With me here, you still want to leave? At this time, Yixian suddenly raised his hand and aimed at the old man's back, shooting out a 100-step piercing arrow. Pooh! The arrow pierced through the old man's head, and he fell to the ground. No, impossible! The old man shouted when he saw that he was the only one left. However, Zhao Chongwen did not show any mercy at all. With a sweep of the sword, the old man's other arm was sent flying, leaving only his 2 legs. Fortunately, his movement technique was quite good, and he managed to pull away from Zhao Chongwen in an instant. Yixian raised his hand, preparing to kill the old man, but at this time Zhao Chongwen suddenly said, Don't kill him, leave him alive. Hearing this, Yixian's left hand moved down. Shoo! The old man's left knee was hit, and he lost his balance and fell to the ground. With both arms cut off and one leg crippled, this old man could be considered to be crippled. Zhao Chongwen shot forward and captured him in an instant. You're from the Raging Fire Empire, right? Zhao Chongwen asked. Just kill me, I won't tell you anything. The old man gritted his teeth, looking like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. I never thought that the Raging Fire Empire would actually send 3 true element boundary experts here. It seems that I have underestimated you. Your target this time should be these 3, right? Zhao Chongwen guessed. Sure enough, when those words were spoken, the old man's face twitched. Bang! Zhao Chongwen slapped the top of the old man's head. That powerful quintessential essence instantly smashed the old man's brain into pieces. He wasn't prepared to ask for any information, but this time, it was obvious that the other party's information was wrong. He didn't expect Yixian and the others to be so strong. Clean up the battlefield. Looks like we'll have to change our route back. Zhao Chongwen was feeling somewhat concerned. Since there were spies, there might be more than that. This time, there were only 3 true element boundary martial artists. They could still deal with them, but what if the next one was 3 true element boundary martial artists? Yixian and the others also cleaned up the battlefield. These people all had Qian Kuan rings in their hands. Yixian had also obtained quite a lot, but these people were specially sent to the Profound Sun Empire for a mission, so they wouldn't have too many things. With such an episode, Zhao Chongwen didn't dare to be careless, so he deliberately took a big detour. Their speed was considered fast, and it only took them 7 days to return to the imperial capital. When Zhao Chongguang heard about this, he was shocked and told Yixian not to leave the imperial capital for the next few days. Yixian did the same. In a month's time, they would compete with the Raging Fire Empire for the 3 spots in the Soaring Sky Mansion. Therefore, the 3 of them still had to hide their strength to avoid any accidents. Previously, Zhao Pan had broken through to the peak True Spirit realm with the help of the intermediate True Spirit pill. Now that he had obtained a peak True Spirit realm Spirit Beast's inner core, there was a high chance that he could break through. However, he and Jiang Xian had disappointed Yixian. After they consumed the inner core, they couldn't break through, so they were still stuck at the peak True Spirit realm. However, this didn't matter. With the intermediate spiritual weapon, the Cold Light Sword, it shouldn't be a problem for them to get a spot. More than a month's time passed very quickly. Today, Yixian was going to head to the border. The location of the battle was actually the unclaimed land between the 2 countries. It was said that the experts from the Soaring Sky Mansion would be the judges, so there was no need to worry about fairness. Moreover, to prevent any accidents, Zhao Chongguang personally escorted them. Not only that, even the Zhao family's 100-year-old ancestor came. The Blood Wolf's inner core that Yixian had brought back had already been consumed by this peak True Energy Realm old ancestor. Originally, this old ancestor was stuck at the peak True Energy Realm. But with this Blood Wolf's inner core, he directly broke through the shackles and entered the True Darkness Realm. With his escort, it was absolutely safe. This time, Yixian was still riding a Spirit Beast Great Peng. This Spirit Beast Great Peng was even bigger than Zhao Chongwen's. It was said to be at the middle stage of the True Spirit Realm. In less than 2 days, they would arrive at the location of the battle. Of course, before leaving, Yixian also asked Huaying to help rebuild Lianyun City. He estimated that when he returned, Lianyun City would definitely be different from before. On the back of the spiritual rock, Pandar, Yixian, Jiang Xian, the 3 geniuses from the Raging Fire Empire have already reached the peak True Spirit Realm. Although you all have intermediate spiritual weapons, you can't be careless. Zhao Chongguang, who was wearing a white robe, said. Yes. Yixian and the other 2 nodded in response. The Soaring Sky Mansion was the key to determining the rise and fall of an empire. If they could enter the Soaring Sky Mansion, this empire would at least be able to develop into a high-rank empire in the future. Therefore, they had to get the spots, and they had to get all of them. Although Zhao Chongguang had not seen Yixian's strength with his own eyes, he had heard of it. Therefore, he was not worried about Yixian. He was worried about Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian. If they could get their hands on intermediate spiritual weapons, the Raging Fire Empire might be able to too. Moreover, there might be other unforeseen events. Don't give them any pressure. At this moment, a white-haired old man suddenly walked over. He was the previous emperor of the Profound Sun Empire, Zhao Mubai. Greetings to the retired emperor. Yixian hurriedly cupped his fists and said. The person in front of him was a true Profound Realm expert, an entire realm higher than him. He was an existence that could kill him with a single slap. No need for formalities. This time, the reason why we sent out half of our experts is to prevent the Raging Fire Empire from playing any tricks. I'm afraid that they have hidden experts on the side, so there might be a big battle. If that happens, you all should not interfere. Zhao Mubai said to Yixian. This. Yixian glanced at Zhao Pan. If there was really a battle, it would be too uncomfortable for him to stand aside and watch. Imperial Grandfather, why can't we interfere? Zhao Pan asked in astonishment. If all 3 spots are taken by you, The Raging Fire Empire will definitely make things difficult for us. If a fight really breaks out, the Soaring Sky Mansion's envoy will definitely not let you take the risk, so you all should just stay here. Moreover, I've already broken through, and I have an intermediate spiritual weapon. Dealing with the Raging Fire Empire's people won't be a problem. Zhao Mubai explained. End of chapter. Chapter 154. Yes. Zhao Pan nodded, indicating that he had understood. The Raging Fire Empire and the Profound Sun Empire were similar in strength. The Raging Fire Empire's emperor was also at the peak of the true energy boundary. Moreover, they didn't dare to mobilize all of their forces, so the number of people they sent was about the same as the Profound Sun Empire. On the other hand, the Profound Sun Empire had Zhao Mubai and many mid-grade spiritual weapons, so it shouldn't be too difficult to kill the enemy. 2 days later, the spiritual rock appeared at the border. The unclaimed land between the two empires wasn't large, and the two empires' borders were only a few thousand meters apart. Yi Xian and the others landed at the border, and Zhao Mubai disguised himself before setting off. This time my Zhao family has mobilized more than 10 true energy boundary experts, and with my royal grandfather the Raging Fire Empire will definitely be destroyed. As long as these people from the Raging Fire Empire are destroyed, the entire empire will crumble, and become a stepping stone for the Profound Sun Empire to become a mid-grade empire. Along the way, Zhao Pan whispered to Yi Xian. I hope so. Yi Xian nodded slightly, but for some reason, his heart started to beat wildly again. It seemed like something was about to happen again. This group of people moved quickly, and in a short while they arrived under a big tree in the middle of the two empires. This was the agreed location. At this time, there was already a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged under the big tree. At the same time, there were more than 10 figures beside him. It seems that the people from the Raging Fire Empire have arrived. The person sitting under the tree must be the Soaring Sky Mansion's envoy. Everyone hurry up. Zhao Chongguang said in his heart. He secretly calculated the number of people from the Raging Fire Empire, and found that there were exactly 18 of them just like them. Seeing this, Zhao Chongguang smiled. With the same number of people, how could the Raging Fire Empire defeat them? They quickly walked over. When Zhao Chongguang's group got closer, the leader of the Raging Fire Empire took a few steps forward and snorted. Zhao Chongguang, you're really arrogant. How dare you make the envoy wait? Yuchuan were here on time. Zhao Chongguang snorted. This middle-aged man named Yuchuan was the emperor of the Raging Fire Empire, and his strength was the same as Zhao Chongguang, at the true energy boundary. Since you're here, let's begin. At this time, the middle-aged man under the big tree stood up. Immediately, an invisible pressure pressed down on Zhao Chongguang and the others. True profound realm. Not good, we came late and made Lord Envoy unhappy. Zhao Chongguang thought to himself without any doubt. At that moment, he cupped his fists in guilt. I'm sorry, Lord Messenger. Forget it. Come and draw lots to decide the order of battle. The middle-aged man ignored him and took out a lot pot from his interspatial ring. Zhao Chongguang led Yi Xian and the other two over and introduced them. Yuchuan was the same. The two nations only had 3 quotas for the Soaring Heaven Mansion's assessment. Moreover, the rules of the battle were set by the Soaring Heaven Mansion. Both sides would first introduce their 3 geniuses, and then the envoys would draw lots to start the battle. This way, imposters would be prevented, and it would be considered fair. However, when Zhao Chongguang led Yi Xian and the others to the front of the middle-aged man, Yuchuan suddenly exchanged glances with the middle-aged man. Then, the middle-aged man suddenly attacked. His target was Zhao Chongguang. What? Zhao Chongguang did not expect this. He was directly hit in the shoulder and was instantly sent flying. Originally, the middle-aged man wanted to smash Zhao Chongguang's heart into pieces with one punch, but he didn't expect that there was suddenly a burst of qi that hit his fist, deflecting his fist, so Zhao Chongguang was only hit in the shoulder. The person who had obstructed his good deed was Yi Xian. It's you, kid? The middle-aged man glared at Yi Xian and threw another punch at him. He could feel that this kid in front of him was only at the early stage of the true energy realm. He could easily kill him with one punch. However, he did not expect him to be so naive. Spiritual level martial technique, Tiger Wolf Roar. Bang! The 2 fists collided and the air billowed. However, this was not the end. Second level roar. Another loud sound rang out. The middle-aged man was actually forced to take a few steps back. He could only blame himself for being careless and thinking that he could kill Yixian. Go. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yixian grabbed Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian and quickly retreated. This scene happened too quickly. The entire crowd was silent. However, the retired emperor of the Profound Sun Empire, Zhao Mubai, was the first to react and rushed out like an arrow. The crowd went over to greet him. At this moment, the injured Zhao Chongguang still did not understand why the Soaring Sky Mansion's envoy would suddenly attack them. Could it be that the envoy was bribed by the Raging Fire Empire? Envoy, what are you doing? Zhao Chongguang finally asked loudly. Fortunately, this true Profound Realm middle-aged man did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he looked at Yixian in astonishment. He, a true Profound Realm expert, was actually at a disadvantage in the hands of a true Energy Realm kid. He would talk about this later. He looked at Zhao Chongguang and grinned. You are an emperor, but I did not expect you to be so stupid. Did I say that I am the envoy of the Soaring Sky Mansion? What? This answer also stunned the people of the Profound Sun Empire. It turned out that this person was not the envoy of the Soaring Sky Mansion, but a fake. Fortunately, Yixian reacted in time. Otherwise, Zhao Chongguang would have been killed with one punch. Ha ha ha, Zhao Chongguang, you did not expect this, did you? He is an expert from the Black Wind Empire who came to help me destroy you. Yu Chuan laughed loudly. The faces of the people of the Profound Sun Empire were extremely gloomy. They thought that there might be a problem, but they did not expect that the other party could even recruit a true Profound Realm expert. The Black Wind Empire was a high-ranked empire. I also did not expect that such a young true Energy Realm expert would appear in a low-ranked empire like yours. This really surprised me. The middle-aged man's gaze fell on Yixian. When Yixian attacked just now, Yu Chuan was nearby. He clearly felt that Yixian was condensing true energy. Your Profound Sun Empire is smaller than my Raging Fire Empire. But you can produce such a genius. I am really envious. It is a pity that none of you can leave today. Yu Chuan's eyes were filled with killing intent as he said. Before the envoy of the Soaring Sky Mansion arrives, I will kill all of you first. This way, the quota will belong to my Raging Fire Empire. This plan was not flawless. If the envoy of the Soaring Sky Mansion arrived early, the matter would be exposed. However, this was not a problem, as long as the expert of the Black Wind Empire was hidden in the crowd. After all, the envoy of the Soaring Sky Mansion would not care about the battle between the two empires. At most, he would protect the holder of the quota. Yu Chuan, it seems that you are going to kill us? Zhao Chongguang stood up while holding his almost crippled shoulder. End of chapter. Chapter 155. Yu Chuan smirked. Do you think there's still hope? Before he could finish his sentence, a black-robed elder walked out and said in a loud voice, You're not the only ones with true darkness realm. As he spoke, an aura that was stronger than most of the people present spread out. It was Zhao Mubai. What? Yu Chuan and the middle-aged man were shocked. The Profound Sun Empire had a true darkness realm expert? Hey, I almost didn't recognize you. I thought you were dead. Zhao Mubai? Yu Chuan said with a smile. Now that both sides had true darkness realm combat power, it was hard to say who would win. The morale of the Profound Sun Empire's side didn't drop. After all, they still had a few cold light swords. With these middle-grade spiritual weapons, they could definitely catch their opponents off guard. However, the Raging Fire Empire wasn't afraid because they still had a trump card. Zhao Mubai, take a look. Who am I? An old voice sounded. A black-robed man walked out from the Raging Fire Empire's side. He took off his bamboo hat and mask, revealing his face. When they saw his face, Zhao Mubai and the others' faces changed. Yu Liang, I didn't expect you to come too. Zhao Mubai said in shock. Yu Liang was the previous emperor of the Raging Fire Empire, who was at the peak of True Energy Realm. No, not the peak of True Energy Realm. The aura that Yu Liang emitted was at the True Darkness Realm. Not good. The Profound Sun Empire's side trembled. The other side had two True Darkness Realm experts. This was going to be troublesome. I didn't expect you to break through too. Congratulations. However, today is the day you die. After you die, the Profound Sun Empire will be annexed by the Raging Fire Empire. Yu Liang didn't want to waste time. After he finished speaking, he said to Yu Chuan, "Stop talking. Let's do it. Things might change if we delay." "Yes, father." Yu Chuan nodded and then shouted, "Kill, don't leave a single one alive." The battle broke out in an instant. Before he finished speaking, Zhao Chongguang also shouted, "Leave the Black Wind Empire to me. Zhao Mulian, I'll leave Yu Liang to you." "All right." An old man shouted. He was the second strongest martial artist of the Zhao family, at the peak of the true element realm. Adding the cold light sword, it was not impossible for him to fight against a true profound realm martial artist. "Kill." Both parties instantly suddenly, he launched an attack. The light of the blade and the shadow of the sword were confusing. Now Yixian had no choice but to make a move. He never thought that things would develop to this point. The Raging Fire Empire had two true profound realm experts, but they only had one. Although they had several cold light swords, if another accident happened, then the profound Sun Empire would be finished. "Anyone who dares to stop me must die." Immediately, a wave of anger surged into Yixian's heart as he directly took out the star-chasing bow. "Sharpshooter! Sharpshooter! Sharpshooter!" In the blink of an eye, he shot out 3 swift attacks. 2 powerhouses from the Raging Fire Empire were unable to react in time, and were directly pierced through. But they were still alive. Yixian understood that the key to this battle was him. As long as he quickly weakened the Raging Fire Empire's strength, then victory would belong to them. If this dragged on, then there would be accidents. After merging with the intermediate fighter bloodline, his right hand was like a phantom, and ordinary people could not see it clearly. He quickly plucked the bowstring and continuously shot out powerful attacks. The 3 arrows of the second round directly took the life of a true element realm martial artist. "Everyone be careful. There is an expert with excellent archery. Kill him." A true element realm martial artist of the Raging Fire Empire shouted, "Let me do it." Immediately, an expert locked his eyes on Yixian and madly ran towards him. At this moment, a figure suddenly blocked in front of Yixian. "If you want to touch him, you have to pass through me first." This person was the Emperor of the Profound Sun Empire, Zhao Chongguang. Although he was injured by the Black Wind Empire's expert, it was only his left shoulder. He could still move his right hand, and with the addition of his intermediate spiritual weapon, his combat strength was quite high. His current mission was to protect Yixian, Zhao Pan, and Jiang Xian. However, Yixian did not need anyone to protect him. "Uncle, you protect the 2 of them." Yixian directly shouted and rushed out. The star-chasing bow in his hand was already gone, replaced by the frostlight sword. "Good boy, you dare to kill my people of the Raging Fire Empire, go to hell." The intermediate true element realm martial artist shouted angrily, and threw a punch at Yixian. For a martial artist of this level, the power of an all-out attack was extremely terrifying. If this punch landed on a vital point, it would definitely be able to kill him instantly. However, Yixian was not afraid of anyone when it came to fighting with fists. Spiritual level martial art. Tiger Wolf Roar. Second level Roar. Boom! The intermediate true element realm martial artist's arm was instantly broken, and a loud sound was mixed with a crisp sound. This was the sound of his bones breaking. "A mere intermediate true spirit realm martial artist dares to find trouble with me, die." Taking advantage of the moment when his opponent temporarily lost the ability to attack, Yixian suddenly attacked with his right hand. The 3rd level of the Myriad Flower Sword. Poof! 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 72 streaks of light easily broke through the martial artist's true essence defense and stabbed into his body. His head, throat, and heart were all hit, causing him to die instantly. Instant kill. The Myriad Flower Sword was one of Yixian's favorite martial arts techniques. It was really hard to defend against, unless one had a spiritual level defensive martial art, or had a speed that surpassed Yixian's. Yixian would not miss. The martial artist's corpse fell to the ground with a plop. The surrounding martial artists were all shocked. A true element boundary martial artist had actually been killed in an instant. Was this kid at the peak of the true element realm? However, while they were still in shock, Yixian had already taken away the martial artist's interspatial ring and rushed out again. In a chaotic battle like this, it was easy to injure one's own people. Therefore, close combat was the way to go. tiger wolf roar, myriad flower sword, lotus armor, green lotus steps. Yixian was also in a killing frenzy. His battle intent was burning to the limit. He knew the people from the profound Sun Empire, so he would not kill the wrong person. Boom! Gotcha! Each of Yixian's punches was able to cripple an enemy. With another strike, he could take his opponent's life. In less than 5 seconds he had killed 3 enemies. This speed was already beyond everyone's expectations. At the same time, his high profile also attracted Yu Liang's attention. This kid's talent is monstrous. If he enters the soaring sky mansion, the raging fire empire will be finished. We can't let him live, Yu Liang said in his heart. He took advantage of an opening and sent Zhao Mulian flying. At the same time he also took Zhao Mulian's cold light sword. End of chapter. Chapter 156. Not good, be careful. Zhao Mu cried out in alarm. He saw that Yu Liang didn't take advantage of the situation to chase after him and kill him. Instead he flew towards Yixian. Yixian heard the shout and turned around. He was almost scared to death. Yu Liang was a true Darkness Realm martial artist, and had stolen a mid-grade spiritual weapon. He was not someone an initial true Energy Realm martial artist could deal with. He immediately took out his star-chasing bow and retreated as he attacked. Boom! Boom! Although Yu Liang was only at the early stage of the true Profound Realm, he was still 3 realms higher than the early stage of the true Element Realm. Under the suppression of his realm, Yixian's 100 steps piercing yang had no effect at all, and was defeated without exception. What a fast speed! He's almost catching up to me. The difference between our realms is too big. I should run first. Yixian quickly turned around and ran with all his might. He wanted to lure Yu Liang away so that he would not have to fear the raging fire empire martial artists. However, when Yixian turned around, he was shocked to see that Yu Liang's speed had suddenly increased. Yu Liang was determined to kill Yixian. Not good. Yixian's face sank. Although he could kill a middle true energy realm martial artist, he had not reached the level where he could fight a true darkness realm martial artist alone. Damn it, I don't have enough points to buy a mid-grade spiritual martial art for escaping. I can only learn this. Yixian quickly exchanged for an item in the Devouring system. It was a formation and cost Yixian 100,000 Devouring points. Mid-grade fog formation activate. A surge of true essence gushed out in an instant, followed by a sizzling sound in the surroundings. Yu Liang, who was madly chasing after Yixian, suddenly realized that a mist had formed around Yixian. Moreover, the speed at which it was formed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it covered Yixian's back. Spiritual formation? Yu Liang immediately reacted and his killing intent intensified. I didn't expect this kid to have so many tricks up his sleeves. He must die. Yu Liang made up his mind and struck out with his palm, preparing to disperse the fog in front of him. However, this fog was very large and instantly spread out over 100 meters. Because of this, Yu Liang lost sight of Yixian and could only use his ears to braid him. Over here. Die for me. Yu Liang felt that something was fishy. He immediately slashed out a few times, but all of them missed. Swish. At this time the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Boom! Boom! Yu Liang once again defeated the arrow and shouted, "Stinking brat, come out!" On the other side, Yixian stood up a little and sneered inwardly. This old man is indeed powerful. Let's see who will die first. He suddenly closed his eyes. Next, he would use his ears and the ability of the supersonic bat to counterattack. Boom! 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 Both sides continued to attack each other. At first, Yu Liang was able to counterattack a few times, but later he was constantly on the defensive and Yixian was the one attacking. Impossible! How can this kid know where I am? Yu Liang could not believe it. He was also moving, but Yixian could always find his position. It would be fine if it happened once or twice, but if it happened every time it would be too strange. One had to know that he was a true Darkness Realm martial artist, and yet he could not deal with a true Energy Realm martial artist. This made him feel ashamed. No matter what, you must die. Yu Liang began to attack wildly. Now he no longer tried to determine Yixian's position and attacked randomly. However, after attacking wildly for a while, he realized something. Yixian was nowhere to be seen. Old man, look over there. A voice suddenly rang out from afar. It was Yixian's voice. It was also at this time that the fog suddenly disappeared bit by bit. Not long after, it completely disappeared. Yu Liang looked over and was shocked to find that Yixian had returned to the battlefield. Now the battlefield was a mess. Corpses were everywhere. And all of them were the bodies of the Raging Fire Empire's martial artists. None of the Dark Sun Empire's martial artists died. How is this possible? Yu Liang's eyes widened in disbelief. They had two true Darkness Realm martial artists on their side. How could they lose? He looked around and did not find the other true Darkness Realm martial artist. He was not on the ground either, so he must have run away. Damn it, that bastard. I paid a lot of money and he ran away just like that? He almost died of anger because he saw his son lying on the ground, although he did not know where his head was. Yu Liang, accept your fate. Zhao Mubaihe walked over with a group of people. This time, the Dark Sun Empire had won a complete victory, and only a few of them were injured. Most importantly, the Raging Fire Empire's martial artists had died. Only Yu Liang and the three true Spirit Realm martial artists were left. No, impossible. Why do you have so many medium spiritual weapons? Yu Liang shook his head desperately. He could not believe that he had lost so ridiculously. Because the Dark Sun Empire has a medium spiritual weapon blacksmith. Zhao Mubai walked over and said slowly, "How is that possible? Who is it?" Yu Liang asked loudly. At this time Yixian suddenly took a step forward. "I'm sorry, those cold light swords were all made by me. Look at the top of the sword hilt, don't you see two words?" Yu Liang looked at the sword hilt. Indeed, there were two words at the top of the sword hilt. Yixian. Yu Liang read it out loud. "That's right, it's me." Yixian smiled. Boom. This answer was like a bolt from the blue, and Yu Liang was shocked speechless. Even he couldn't kill such a young true element realm martial artist, and he was actually a blacksmith who could forge a middle-grade spirit artifact. Was the Dark Sun Empire really such an outstanding place? Yu Liang, the winner takes all. Die. Zhao Mubai did not waste time talking nonsense with him. He directly slashed at Yu Liang. Yu Liang did not resist and was directly beheaded by this slash. Phew. When Yu Liang's head was tossed up, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that they had won this battle. Royal Grandfather, what about these three? Zhao Pan suddenly pointed at the three geniuses of the Raging Fire Empire in the distance. The three geniuses of the Raging Fire Empire were frightened by this scene. Yu Liang, a true Darkness Realm martial artist, was actually beheaded. The Raging Fire Empire was finished. Kill. Zhao Mubai shouted coldly. Following his order, a true energy boundary middle stage powerhouse charged out, and the three geniuses gave up and were killed in an instant. Phew, it's not easy. I didn't expect us to win this time. Zhao Chongguang sighed again. Stop talking, let's clean up the mess first. Zhao Mubai said as he waved his hand and collected all the interspatial rings on the corpses. However, at this time, a giant rock suddenly flew over from the horizon. Everyone turned their heads to look, and their faces became serious. End of chapter. Chapter 157. Soaring Sky Rock. It's the messenger of Soaring Sky Mansion. Zhao Chongguang exclaimed. This time, he was sure that it was the messenger of Soaring Sky Mansion because in the entire eastern region, only Soaring Sky Mansion had such a rock. This rock was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it flew above everyone's heads and slowly descended. A man in his 30s jumped down from the rock's back. Looking at the corpses on the ground, he asked in astonishment, "What happened?" Lord Messenger, Raging Fire Empire found an expert from Black Wind Empire to pretend to be Lord Messenger. They wanted to kill everyone from Profound Sun Empire. But their scheme didn't succeed. Zhao Mubai explained. He could feel that the man in front of him was also at true Profound Realm, and even higher than him. Oh! The man was a little surprised. Black Wind Empire? Pretending to be me? What's his name? I think he's called Gao Yang. Zhao Mubai replied. This was what he heard in the battle just now. Gao Yang? How dare you? The man snorted coldly. Soaring Sky Mansion was the overlord of the eastern region. But someone dared to pretend to be them. They were really reckless. Now that everyone from Raging Fire Empire is dead, The 3 examination spots will all be given to Profound Sun Empire. Which 3 are they? The man asked again. At this time Yixian took the lead and walked out. He respectfully clasped his hands. Greetings, Lord Messenger. The man glanced at him and was a little surprised. I didn't expect such talent to appear in a low-level empire. Not bad, not bad. This little fatty is also okay. The 3rd one is a little old, but he meets the criteria. Lord Messenger, when will they? Zhao Mubai asked. Immediately, come on up. The man said and jumped on the rock's back. Yixian and the other 2 looked at each other and jumped on as well. Do you have anything else to say? The man turned to Yixian and asked. No. Yixian shook his head. The man continued. Okay, then I'll take you to Soaring Sky Mansion. If you don't pass the examination and are still alive, I'll send you back. After he finished speaking, he patted the rock and it flew up. Yixian and the other 2 felt somewhat helpless. This man did not seem to have any confidence in them. Or could it be that the test was too difficult? Seeing Yixian and the other 2 leave on the soaring sky rock, Zhao Mubai and the rest also looked at each other. This chapter does not end, please turn the page, yes. Let's go, it's time to take care of the Raging Fire Empire. The soaring sky rock began to fly towards the soaring sky mansion. The man sat cross-legged on the back of the soaring sky rock. He faced Yixian and the other 2 and asked, What are your names? Yixian. Zhao Pan. Jiang Xian. All right, I am Mo1, the guardian of the Lingxiao mansion. The man first introduced himself and then he said, Next, I'll directly send all of you to the Soaring Sky Mansion to participate in the test. However, this test is extremely cruel because my Soaring Sky Mansion wants elites. There are a few points that I need to explain to you all. If you have any questions, ask them on the spot. I won't wait until after the deadline. Firstly, not everyone can participate in the test. You have to go through a talent test. Yixian you can pass. Zhao Pan can barely pass. As for Jiang Xian, I can't guarantee that he can participate in the test. Before he could finish speaking, Jiang Xian asked in shock, Why? I've said before that my Soaring Sky Mansion wants elites. How old are you? Mo1 asked. 22. Very barely. Even a 20-year-old at the pinnacle of the true spirit realm might not pass. Of course, this is not certain unless you have something extraordinary. As for the specifics, we will know when we get there. Mo1 did not explain further and continued. Secondly, the test is divided into camps. You belong to the Great Tang Dynasty camp. Why is it the Great Tang Dynasty? Zhao Pan asked in surprise. Mo1 explained, Our eastern region, excluding the Soaring Sky Mansion, has already been divided into 4 parts by the 4 big dynasties. You belong to the Great Tang Dynasty. Then what's the use of dividing into camps? Zhao Pan continued to ask. The 4 big dynasties of the eastern region will fight according to the dynasties. There will be a total of 2 rounds. If you lose the first round and the second round, you can only enter the Soaring Sky Mansion's Yellow Manor. Our Soaring Sky Mansion has a total of 4 manors: Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow. The Heavenly Manor is the best, and is also the core of our Soaring Sky Mansion. The Earth Manor is second, the Profound Manor is third, and the worst is the Yellow Manor. After listening to Mo1's explanation, Yixian and the other 2 instantly understood. So if our Great Tang Dynasty camp wins 2 rounds in a row, we will enter the Heavenly Manor, Yixian said slowly. That's right. Mo1 nodded and continued. Thirdly, the test is very cruel. Not even 1 out of 10 will survive, so you have to be mentally prepared. Not even 1 out of 10 will survive. After hearing this, Yixian and the other 2's hearts trembled violently. The competition was indeed very intense. After all, there were elites from various empires and super geniuses from the dynasties. The journey to the Soaring Sky Mansion was very boring. After Mo1 answered Yixian and the other 2's questions on the first day, he closed his eyes to rest and started practicing. He sat like this for 10 days, not opening his eyes once during this period. 10 days later, the Soaring Sky Great Peng also flew into the mountain range. Wow, such abundant vital chi of heaven and earth. I have just entered and I can already feel the real spirit in my body stirring. In less than 2 days, I reckon I will be able to break through, Zhao Pan exclaimed. Me too, Zhang Xian said. As for Yi Xian, although he also felt the enormous vital qi of heaven and earth, he did not feel anything because he had relied on swallowing to level up. At this moment, the soaring sky rock suddenly descended and finally landed on a large open space. At the same time, Imowen also woke up. Come on down, Imowen said as he directly jumped to the ground. Yi Xian and the other two followed suit and jumped down. Follow me. I will first test your talents. Imowen waved his hand and the soaring sky rock rose into the air, and then disappeared into the horizon. Yi Xian began to look around and did not notice anything special. It was similar to a normal sect. He and Zhaopan followed Imowen for a while, and finally entered a large hall. There was nothing else in the large hall except for an old man sitting cross-legged on the ground. In front of him was a white stone the size of a soccer ball. Elder, I have brought people back. Please test their talents. Imowen walked over and said respectfully. Hearing this, the old man opened his eyes and used his turbid eyes to scan Yi Xian and the other two. He said, "One by one, place your hands on this stone. Zhang Xian, you go first," Imowen said from the side. Along the way, Zhang Xian was very nervous because Imowen had said that with his talents, he might not be able to participate in the assessment. He was very unconvinced, but he was just a little older. However, since he was already here, he would know whether he was a dragon or a snake with a test. End of chapter. Chapter 158. Yi Xian sat down cross-legged and placed his right hand on the stone. Then something strange happened. The stone suddenly turned green and flashed. Excellent, low grade. You can barely take the assessment, the elder said. Phew. Hearing these words, the huge rock in Zhang Xian's heart was finally lifted. Zhaopan, Imowen said calmly. At this moment, the stone returned to white after turning green. Then Zhaopan also sat down and placed his hand on the stone. It was still green, but it flashed twice. Excellent, medium grade. Not bad, the elder said coldly. Although he did not understand the situation, Zhaopan still broke into a smile. Then he stood up and said, Yi Xian, it's up to you now. Yi Xian, who was the third to be tested, also sat down directly. Then, he slowly extended his hand and placed it on the stone. Imowen also could not help but hold his breath. When Yi Xian's hand touched the white stone immediately turned blue and flashed twice. Oh, excellent, medium grade. Not bad, not bad. The elder nodded satisfactorily. As expected, it is an excellent talent. Elder, I remember that an excellent medium grade can be accepted into the profound department manner as an exception, right? Imowen said. That's right. You can enter the profound department manner in advance without taking the assessment. The elder nodded and replied. Imowen turned his head and asked, Yi Xian, you now have a chance to enter the profound department manner directly. What do you think? Profound department manner? Yi Xian thought for a while. The Lingxiao manner had 4 manners: heaven, earth, profound, and yellow. The profound department manner was ranked 3rd. To put it bluntly, it was the 2nd from the bottom. Forget it. I am willing to take the assessment. Yi Xian shook his head directly. As long as they won 1 round in the dynasty battle, they could enter the profound department manner. So there was no need at all. Maybe the Tang dynasty could win 2 rounds in a row? Up to you. Imowen did not insist. Then Imowen arranged a place for Yi Xian and the other 2 to stay. He also said that someone would bring them to take the assessment in 3 days. At the same time, one thing to note was that they could not fight in private. Otherwise, they would be disqualified. At this moment in the courtyard, it seems to be the residence of the examinees from the Great Tang dynasty. I will go and take a look first. After speaking, Zhaopan left. Then Zhang Xianhe decided to go out for a walk. Now, only Yi Xian was left in the courtyard. After arriving here, Yi Xian felt an endless pressure. His aptitude was one of the best in the profound Sun Empire. However, the geniuses of the entire eastern region were gathered here. Those geniuses from high-ranked empires were probably not weaker than him. Moreover, they were all older than him. In other words, he was currently at a disadvantage. 16-year-old early-stage true energy realm martial artists might be rare, but 18 or 19-year-old middle-stage true energy realm martial artists or 20-year-old peak-stage true energy realm martial artists were quite common. Looks like I have to work hard to earn money, Yixian thought to himself. Currently, he still had hundreds of thousands of devouring points. Moreover, before he set off, he had also bought a lot of materials from Zhao Chongguang to craft a middle-grade spiritual weapon. As for mid-grade spirit artifacts, only the geniuses of high-ranked empires would possess them. They were rarely seen in mid-ranked empires, and low-ranked empires had none at all. Therefore, he could temporarily rely on this to level up. I'm about to level up as well. As long as I sell a few middle-grade spirit artifacts, I should be able to break through to mid-rank true spirit realm. However, I still don't know what empires are nearby. Let's wait for Fatty Bro to come back first. Yixian thought to himself. With his strength, passing the test shouldn't be a problem. However, he had another goal, and that was to bring Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian through as well. He pondered for a while in the courtyard. Then suddenly a figure rushed in. It was Jiang Xian. Not good, something happened to Zhao Pan. Jiang Xian said in shock. Before they set off, they had already agreed that they would just call each other by their names. Otherwise, if they called Zhao Pan Crown Prince, they would definitely offend the geniuses of mid-ranked and high-ranked empires. Even the geniuses of dynasties would be offended because those empires also had crown princes. Seeing Jiang Xian like this, Yixian stood up and asked in surprise, "What happened?" Jiang Xian explained what had happened to him. Zhao Pan's body is too big. The other party thinks that Zhao Pan is polluting his eyes and wants Zhao Pan to kneel? After hearing this, Yixian was also in disbelief. Zhao Pan was a little fat, but there was no need to do this, right? What's the other party's background? Yixian asked again. I think it's a high-ranked empire. Jiang Xian gulped. A high-level empire, huh? Yi Zichen muttered under his breath. Yixian's eyes flickered. So what if it was a high-ranked empire? Did they think they could do whatever they wanted? At that moment, Yixian let Jiang Xian lead the way. At the same time, in an empty space. Kneel down. How dare you come to the Soaring Sky Mansion's test when you're so fat? Don't you feel ashamed? People from low-ranked empires are low-ranked. They probably don't have any other abilities besides eating. If you don't want that profound Sun Empire to be destroyed, then kneel down obediently. A group of youths gathered together and shouted. The one in the middle was Zhao Pan, who weighed 150 kilograms. In front of Zhao Pan was a young man dressed in luxurious clothes and accompanied by 2 attendants. So what do you think? My father is the Grand Marshal of the Black Wind Empire. With a single order from him, your profound Sun Empire will be finished. The young man in luxurious clothes said mockingly. At this moment, Zhao Pan was also standing there in a daze. He didn't expect that he would get into so much trouble just by coming out for a walk. The Black Wind Empire was a high-ranked empire, while the Profound Sun Empire was just a low-ranked empire. The former could easily destroy a low-ranked empire, so there was no comparison. However, the young man in luxurious clothes in front of him wanted him to kneel down and kowtow. Kneeling to the heavens, earth, and parents, even if he had a master, he only needed to bow. There was no need to kneel. Just as Zhao Pan was hesitating, the young man in luxurious clothes said, "Time's up. If you don't kneel in the next moment, don't blame me for being heartless." Hearing this, Zhao Pan made a decision in his heart. I'll kneel. Zhao Pan gritted his teeth and bent his knees. His body sank down. The surrounding people had a mocking look on their faces. The assessment was in 3 days, so they couldn't spend the next 3 days in boredom. They had to find something fun. Zhao Pan's expression was heavy. He was the only one who was humiliated. If this could get the other party to be merciful, then it wouldn't be a loss. Plop! Zhao Pan's fat body knelt on the ground. Ha ha ha, good, be obedient. Since you're kneeling, then it's time for you to kowtow, right? The young man in luxurious clothes laughed. At this time, one of the followers beside him said, "Why don't we let him call us Grandpa a few more times?" Hearing this, the young man's eyes lit up and said, Right, that's not bad. However, I don't want such a fat grandson. You go take in this grandson. End of chapter. Chapter 159. That's right, that's not bad. But I don't want such a fat grandson. You go take in this grandson. Before he could finish his words, Zhao Pan suddenly raised his head and glared at him. They had agreed that as long as he kowtowed, this matter would be settled. But now, the other party had changed his mind and even added a condition of calling him Grandpa. He was clearly pushing his luck. Yo, you dare to glare at me? Do you believe that I won't send someone back to the Black Wind Empire to inform my father and destroy the Profound Sun Empire? The luxuriously dressed young man suddenly shouted. Putong. Every time the luxuriously dressed young man mentioned the Profound Sun Empire, Zhao Pan's heart would twitch violently. This world was a world of the strong, where the strong preyed on the weak. The weak would often become the toys of the strong. Even an empire was no exception. Fine, I'll call you Grandpa. Zhao Pan gritted his teeth. Wait, first come, first served. Kowtow first, then call me Grandpa. Do you know the rules? The luxuriously dressed young man said coldly. Zhao Pan clenched his fists, his body trembling. This time he did not refute. Instead, he opened his arms and pressed them on the floor, then bowed. Pooh! Zhao Pan's forehead hit something, but the sound was wrong, and the hardness was wrong. This was not the floor. When he looked up, he found that he had knocked into someone's palm. Yi Xian. Zhao Pan looked at the owner of the hand in astonishment and said in astonishment. That's right, this was Yi Xian's hand. He had arrived just in time. Yi Xian, who arrived late, was not too late. He helped Zhao Pan up and said, Fatty bro, what are you doing? Impudent, did I allow you to stand up? Before Zhao Pan could say anything, an angry roar sounded, and at the same time a gust of wind blew. The luxuriously dressed young man was furious. He kicked at Zhao Pan. He was a true energy intermediate stage expert. This kick could definitely break Zhao Pan's bones. However, Yi Xian did not allow him to be impudent. Pooh! Yi Xian casually struck out with his palm, sending the kick flying. Impudent, how dare you? Do you know who I am? The luxuriously dressed young man's eyes widened. A dog that only knows how to bite people. Yi Xian casually said as he helped Zhao Pan up. What did you say? The finely dressed youth almost went berserk. He was the son of a grand marshal of a high-ranked empire, yet he was actually scolded like a dog. Moreover, it was in front of so many people. This was simply heaven-defying. Just as he was about to make a move, the small-eyed lackey reminded him, Don't make a move, there are rules. After being reminded like this, the young man in fine clothes was also stunned. He suddenly recalled that this was not the Black Wind Empire, but the Soaring Sky Mansion. Damn fatty, hurry up and kneel. Do you want your country to be destroyed? Oh, Black Wind Empire? Yi Xian had heard of this name before. Wasn't the true Profound Realm expert who disguised himself as the Soaring Sky Mansion's envoy from the Black Wind Empire? Haha, so what if it's the Black Wind Empire? It's just a high-ranked empire. You're stepping on the soil of the Soaring Sky Mansion. I'd like to see how much trouble I've caused. Yi Xian did not mind at all. Good, very good. Looks like you want your empire to be destroyed. The luxuriously dressed young man was so angry that his face turned ashen. At this moment, there were already close to 100 spectators gathered here. He was being insulted by someone from a low-level empire in public. This was extremely humiliating. Haha. Yi Xian smiled and said, I think you haven't woken up yet. This is the Soaring Sky Mansion. Unless you're disqualified, you won't be able to return for the time being. Moreover, the difficulty of the exam is not small. Whether you can return to the Black Wind Empire alive is still a problem. Moreover, you made the first move just now. Everyone here saw it clearly. As long as I report this matter, you'll be disqualified. Before he finished speaking, the luxuriously dressed young man's face changed and shouted, You dare! Haha, are you panicking? Yi Xian smiled and said, Of course I don't dare, but don't think that I'm afraid of you. If you're disqualified, won't you be able to destroy the Profound Sun Empire sooner? These words made the luxuriously dressed young man feel relieved. He had indeed forgotten the rules just now. If the people from the Soaring Sky Mansion found out, he would definitely be disqualified. After all, the Black Wind Empire was only a high-ranked empire, and he was not the emperor. He was only the son of the Grand Marshal of the Armed Forces. Even if the emperor came, he would have to respectfully abide by the rules, let alone him. Alright, I'm going to take my friend away. Is there anything else? If there's nothing else, then get lost. Yi Xian pulled Zhao Pan along. And after saying a few words he directly walked out. No one dared to stop them. This was because their courage was not as big as Yi Xian's. Even people from mid-ranked empires did not dare to say anything in front of the luxuriously dressed young man. However, not only did Yi Xian do it, he even scolded him. Good, very good. I'll remember you. If I Lin Zhirong don't kill you, I'll take your surname. After leaving that troublesome place, Yi Xian directly brought Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian back to their residence. Yi Xian, this time you. Zhao Pan finally could not help but ask. Yi Xian sat down and said, do you think that I'm irrational and made a big deal out of this? Zhao Pan nodded. Originally, he thought that after kowtowing and calling him grandfather, everything would be fine. Although it was embarrassing, it was better than his parents being killed and his entire empire being destroyed. You're too naive. They're obviously looking for fun. Even if you kowtowed and called them grandfather, they would not let you go. Furthermore, they would continue to take advantage of you. Then they would treat you like a dog and even ask you to lick their shoes. After Yi Xian finished speaking, he paused for a moment before continuing. Now, although the matter has blown up, it's still all right. This is the Soaring Heaven Mansion, so they won't dare to do anything to us for the time being. As long as we pass the Soaring Heaven Mansion's test, even if we enter the Yellow Mansion, they won't dare to do anything to the Profound Sun Empire. After listening to Yi Xian's words, Zhao Pan also felt that it made sense. But the Soaring Heaven Mansion's test is less than 1 in 10. Just now, there were many people in the true energy boundary. I'm afraid, Zhao Pan said worriedly. Aren't you about to break through? There are still 3 days before the test. Try to break through to the true energy boundary in these 3 days. Don't worry with me here, I will do my best to protect you. As long as you enter the Soaring Heaven Mansion, you can take revenge for kneeling down just now. Yi Xian said confidently. Alright, I'll start cultivating now. Zhao Pan made a decision in his heart. Since the matter had already happened, there was no point in worrying. He could only work hard to break through. As long as he could enter the Soaring Heaven Mansion, all the dangers would be resolved. End of chapter. Chapter 160. Alright, I still have some personal matters to attend to. Don't go out for the next few days. Yi Xian said and left immediately. After leaving, Yi Xian quickly returned to the place where he was just now. At this time there were still many people gathered in the open space. The well-dressed young man called Lin Zhirong was also there. Bastard, you still dare to come out? The well-dressed young man saw Yi Xian and immediately shouted. Trash, you don't have to provoke me. I won't do anything. Don't forget that I have something on you. Yi Xian looked at him and said coldly. Then why did you come out? Are you going to threaten me with this? The well-dressed young man asked in a questioning tone. He was really afraid that Yi Xian would report this matter and disqualify him. One must know that he was able to come to the Soaring Heaven Mansion this time because the Black Wind Empire's imperial family did not have any outstanding talents this year, so the quota was given to him. If he was kicked out, he might not be able to come back next year. Moreover, if he was blacklisted by the Soaring Heaven Mansion, it would be fine if he was the only one blacklisted. If the entire empire was blacklisted, then even if his father was the Grand Marshal, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Don't worry, I'm not as dirty as you. Yi Xian coldly snorted and suddenly jumped onto a wall. He took out a cold light sword from his bosom and said, Everyone, I have a batch of mid-grade spirit artifacts here. Is there anyone who wants them? As soon as these words came out, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. What? Middle-grade spiritual weapon? How is that possible? This guy is only from a low-level empire. How could he have a middle-grade spiritual weapon? But the aura of the sword in his hand does seem to be a middle-grade spiritual weapon. Let's go take a look. Immediately, people surrounded him. Is your sword really a middle-grade spiritual weapon? How much are you going to sell it for? A young man did not think much and asked directly. It's fate that we can meet here. This newly forged cold light sword is only selling for 500 low-grade crystal stones. Yi Xian said slowly. What? 500 low-grade crystal stones? There was a commotion. The price of a mid-grade spirit weapon was indeed around 500 low-grade spirit stones, but it had always been priceless. Middle-grade spirit artifacts usually appeared in high-rank empires, and every time they appeared, they would be snatched away by the local forces. As a result, it was very difficult for those low-level and mid-level empires to obtain a handful of them. If a middle-rank empire wanted to buy a middle-rank spirit weapon, they would have to spend thousands of low-rank spirit stones. Moreover, they would have to rely on their connections to buy it, so the cost would be no less than 3,000. But now, there was actually a middle-grade spirit weapon for sale at the lowest price. You can't be lying, right? You're just someone from a low-level empire. How could you have a mid-grade spirit artifact? Someone asked. So what if it's a low-level empire? Can't people from low-level empires have treasures? Yixian grinned and suddenly extended the sword hilt in front of him, saying, "Do you see this? This middle-grade spirit artifact was personally forged by me." The crowd burst into an uproar again. The person in front of them could actually forge a middle-grade spiritual weapon? Middle-grade spirit artifact forging master. How is that possible? There hasn't been a middle-grade spirit artifact forging master in our country. But that fatty did call him Yixian just now. Heavens, a middle-grade spirit artifact forging master is enough to promote a low-level empire to a mid-level empire. The onlookers looked at each other in disbelief. At this moment, the well-dressed youth Lin Jirong suddenly walked over. "It's fake, it's definitely fake. He must have carved the name later. Do you believe that?" After his reminder, the onlookers' eyes lit up. It was indeed possible. It's up to you whether to believe it or not. Anyway, this is a middle-grade spirit artifact. Yixian was too lazy to explain and continued, "I think everyone usually uses low-rank spirit artifacts. Everyone is here to participate in the examination. If you can obtain a middle-grade spirit artifact, then your chances of passing the examination will be much higher. Is there anyone who wants to buy it?" The crowd was still hesitating. A middle-grade spirit artifact was not cheap, so they had to think carefully. "I'm right here. If the middle-grade spirit artifact is fake, I'll commit suicide on the spot to apologize. To be honest, I only have 10 cold light swords, but there are nearly 100 of you, so it's first come, first served. Is there anyone who wants to be the first bird to stand out?" Yixian's voice was very loud. "TSK." The well-dressed youth suddenly snorted. In fact, there were already many people who wanted to buy it, but they were worried that Lin Jirong would remember them after buying it. After all, except for Lin Jirong and the other two, everyone present was from mid-level or low-level empires. At this moment, someone suddenly asked, "I don't have so many crystals in my interspatial ring. Can I use other things to make up for it?" "Of course," Yixian said with a smile. "Okay, then I'll give it a try." A young man walked out of the crowd, and then took out some crystals and the heaven and earth treasures he used for cultivation in front of so many people. "Very good, the number is correct. Take it." Yixian directly took the things on the ground, and then threw the cold light sword over. Clang! The young man suddenly pulled out the cold light sword, and then slashed towards the sky. With the amplification of a mid-grade spiritual weapon, the attack was very fast, and it only disappeared after it was hundreds of meters away. It really is a mid-grade spiritual weapon. Good. This is great, ha ha ha. The young man was wild with joy. With a mid-grade spiritual weapon, his chances of passing the test were much higher. Everyone present was silent. They subconsciously swept their eyes around and found that many people were staring at them with wide eyes. At this moment, Yixian took out a similar cold light sword from the devouring space and said, "The second one, who wants it?" "I want it." "Me too. Leave one for me." The crowd was in an uproar, and they all shouted, trying to buy one. "Haha, don't worry, I have 9 tokens here. Those who have the tokens can buy them in order. Let's go." Before Yixian finished speaking, 9 tokens flew out. The young men were stunned for a moment, and then quickly rushed out to fight for the tokens. "Number 1, I'm number 1. The crystal is here, give it to me." "Okay, take it." "I'm number 2. Here." Number 3, number 3, number 3 is here." Oh. In less than half a minute, Yixian sold 8 cold light swords. Where's the number 9 token?" Yixian asked in surprise. The people below looked at each other. None of them had gotten the number 9 token. The number 9 token was shattered by him. Suddenly someone shouted. Then, everyone looked in the direction he was pointing, and finally landed on the well-dressed young man, Lin Zhirong. So what if I broke it? Lin Zhirong snorted. End of chapter. Chapter 161. Sigh, there are always dogs that bite people wherever you go. Brothers, I'm sorry. Since someone is causing trouble, I won't be selling the last middle-grade spiritual weapon for the time being. After Yixian finished speaking, he left in a hurry. Everyone present was stunned. Immediately, someone glared fiercely at Lin Zhirong. If it weren't for Lin Zhirong, they might have had a chance to buy it. Lin Zhirong realized that he had fallen into Yixian's trap. He blamed himself for being too careless and breaking a token. Now, he was hated by so many people. Damn bastard. If I, Lin Zhirong, don't kill you, I swear I'm not human. Yixian earned a total of 4,500 low-grade crystals from the 9 frostlight swords. Although there were some discrepancies, the difference was not big. On the way back, he devoured all of these items. Ding! Host has broken through to the middle stage of the true energy realm. His devouring points had finally exceeded 1,000,000. Lin Zhirong was also at the middle stage of the true energy realm. Even if Yixian did not break through, he could easily kill him. Now that he had broken through, he was like a fish in water. He estimated that he might be able to kill a peak stage true energy realm cultivator like a chicken. Other than possessing a spiritual weapon, people from a high-rank empire might also possess a middle-grade spiritual martial art. I can't be careless. In the test 3 days later, Lin Zhirong might make a move on me. But if I find the chance, I'll explode his head. Yixian's eyes flickered. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll pay them back tenfold. After returning to the house, Yixian immediately set up a spirit-gathering array. He estimated that Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian had a 90% chance of breaking through in 3 days. At the same time, he spent tens of thousands of devouring points to buy one. It was a blueprint for a middle-grade spiritual weapon called the Sky Silkworm Snow Silken Hands. Now, other than using a bow and sword, he would occasionally use his fists. Therefore, he needed a pair of middle-grade spiritual weapon gloves. Everything was ready. Only one thing was missing. In these 3 days, many people came to this area. It was estimated that there were at least 500 people. Not only that, even people from the Great Tang Dynasty came. Moreover, the 3 people who came were all in the true profound realm, which was extremely terrifying. It was said that all 3 of them had achieved the intermediate excellent grade in the innate talent test, and one of them was even stronger than Yixian. Even if they didn't take the test, they could still enter the manor of hell directly. This person was called Tang Tian, the crown prince of the Great Tang Dynasty. After 3 days of cultivation, Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian finally broke through to the true element boundary, catching up with the rest of the group. On the morning of the 4th day, many soaring skyrocks flew over this area. Everyone gather at the square. A loud and clear voice resounded in everyone's ears. They were all stunned for a moment before they quickly left the mansion and headed towards the plaza. At this moment, 10 soaring skyrocks had already landed in the square. In less than a minute, all the people in this area had arrived at the plaza. Subsequently, an old man on the soaring firmament rock loudly said, "The soaring firmament mansion's examination is about to begin. Everyone, mount the soaring firmament rock and head to the examination grounds." After he finished speaking, someone directly jumped onto the soaring sky rock. This soaring sky rock was even bigger than an airplane, so it wouldn't be a problem for 50 people to stand on its back. Yixian and the other 2 also directly jumped on, but just as they landed, a cold snort floated over. Humph, enemies truly meet on a narrow road. Yixian narrowed his eyes and looked. Wasn't the person standing in front of them the one who had a grudge with them, Lin Zhirong? Do you want to die? Don't be in such a hurry. Yixian calmly said. Lin Zhirong's eyes lit up as he said, "I'll give you a chance. If you kneel down and kowtow to me 3 times, I might spare your lives." Idiot. Yixian rolled his eyes and directly led Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian to the center. Although the soaring sky rock's back was large, if it was blown away by the wind, then they would definitely die. Looking at the backs of Yixian and the other 2 leaving, Lin Zhirong clenched his fists and muttered, "You guys will definitely die miserably." Very quickly, several hundred people all climbed onto the back of the soaring sky rock. "Take off!" The old man in the lead shouted. 10 soaring sky rock began to flap their large wings and soar into the air, flying in a certain direction. By now Yixian also understood that these soaring sky rock were all true darkness realm spiritual beasts. Their flying speed was extremely fast and could travel 100,000 miles in a day. However, these soaring sky rocks still flew for a full half an hour before stopping at the entrance of a large valley. After arriving, the several hundred people followed the instructions of the old man in the lead and landed on the ground. Then the old man began his long speech. Let me first introduce myself. I am Yang Tai, an elder of the Soaring Sky Mansion. Today, I will be the chief examiner of the Great Tang Dynasty camp. Your Great Tang Dynasty has a total of 573 people, and your opponent is the Great Zhou Dynasty. Now listen carefully. There are 2 entrances in this valley. The Great Zhou Dynasty is at the other entrance. At the same time, there is a large river in the middle of this valley. This is the dividing line. What you have to do is to pass through the large river and destroy the pagoda suppressing stones in the 5 sentry towers of the other party within a month. Whichever side's 5 pagoda suppressing stones are destroyed will be the side that loses. If there is no winner after a month, we will decide the winner based on the number of pagoda suppressing stones left. If there is a tie, we will decide based on the number of survivors. If there is a tie, we will decide again. Every pagoda suppressing stone is set up with a formation. It cannot be stored in an interspatial ring and cannot be moved. After the old man finished speaking, he took out a large package from his interspatial ring and threw it on the ground. These are the identity tokens of the Great Tang Dynasty camp. Every token is set up with a formation and cannot be stored in an interspatial ring. As long as you carry it with you, you will be able to sense the people around you. Then, an envoy of the Soaring Sky Mansion jumped to the ground and quickly distributed the tokens. At this moment, a ray of light suddenly flashed in the horizon. When the old man saw it, his face turned solemn. He pointed in a few directions and said, "The Great Zhou Dynasty is ready. The 5 sentry towers of the Great Tang Dynasty are in these directions. Let's begin." After he finished speaking, he directly rode on the soaring sky rock and flew up, not even giving the people time to ask questions. The first battle of the Soaring Sky Mansion assessment had begun. After the old man left, a person immediately jumped onto a tree and said loudly, "Everyone, I am the Crown Prince of the Great Tang Dynasty, Tang Tian. This first battle is very important, so we can only win and not lose. Next, I will be the commander." Tang Tian was born in the royal family of the Great Tang Dynasty, so he was born with a domineering aura. Coupled with his true darkness realm cultivation, no one dared to oppose him. End of chapter. Chapter 162. Tang Tian looked around and continued. Just now the elder said that if we want to win, we have to destroy the 5 sentry towers of the enemy. We have more than 500 people here, so we have to divide into 5 groups to guard the sentry towers. At the same time, we have to invade the enemy's territory and destroy the sentry towers. Everyone here from the high-ranked empires, please come out. With that, a few people walked out. There were a total of 9 empires in the Great Tang Dynasty camp, and 27 people walked out. 9 high-ranked empires including the Great Tang Dynasty, there are exactly 10 of you. The 27 of you will be the commanders, and each of you will choose 50 people. After that, the Western Wei Empire, Qiping Empire. These 4 empires will follow me to cross the river. Tang Tian called out the names of the 4 empires at once. Including him, there were 250 people, almost half of the total. This, Your Highness, we can also choose to defend the 5 sentry towers without crossing the river. Suddenly, someone asked. This is one way, but what if the enemy gathers their experts and destroys our sentry towers one by one? So, we can't just defend, we have to attack. Tang Tian explained, and without waiting for the other party to speak, he continued. You 9 empires, start choosing your people quickly. At this moment, Yi Xian and the other 2 standing in the middle of the crowd, their faces darkened. They did not expect Lin Zhirong to become a commander. Looks like he will definitely take this opportunity. Go, let's change places. Yi Xian said softly. Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian were not idiots, and quickly changed places. But at this moment, a voice suddenly shouted, Yi Xian, where are the 3 of you going? Hearing this voice, Yi Xian stopped in his tracks, but in the next moment, 3 figures appeared in front of them. It was Lin Zhirong and his 2 followers. Why, you want to choose the 3 of us? Yixian raised his head and looked at Lin Zhirong. Nonsense, 3 days ago. You were so arrogant in front of me, why are you scared now? Lin Zhirong looked at Yixian with a smile. Hee, since you are so interested, of course I will accompany you. Yixian's eyes flashed with killing intent. With his strength he could definitely kill Lin Zhirong, but there were so many people present and Tang Tian who was at the true profound realm, he could not do it for the time being. Haha, then the 3 of you consider yourselves lucky to meet me, or else you would have to go to the front. Lin Zhirong laughed, then began to choose others. Yi to bring Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian to the side. What should we do? Zhao Pan asked worriedly. It's all right, just now Tang Tian did not mention the Black Wind Empire, so we were stationed at the sentry tower. When we set off to find the sentry tower, I'll directly kill him and then we'll leave. Yixian said in a low voice. Said, he is the commander appointed by Tang Tian, will he? Zhao Pan asked again. Don't worry, just watch me. Yixian snorted. The reason why he brought Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian away was not because he was afraid of Lin Zhirong, but because he had to consider the big picture. If the Great Tang Dynasty and Great Zhou Dynasty had the same sentry tower, then it would depend on the number of survivors. Perhaps the 3 of them would be the key? But he did not expect Lin Zhirong to court death himself. Since that was the case, he would fulfill his wish. Very quickly, the 10 large groups were allocated, and each group had around 50 people. Very good, 4 of you will follow me to cross the river. The remaining 5 teams will look for the sentry tower and guard it well. Also, to prevent enemies from sneaking in, I have a few secret signals. First, Great Tang. Second, the word Great Tang. Third, a hand gesture. If anyone does not match, immediately kill them, do not hesitate. After Tang Tian finished speaking, he led the 5 teams and left in a straight line. Good, Bright Moon Empire, follow me. East Source Empire, follow me. After they left, the remaining few commanders also led their teams to look for the sentry tower. Black Wind Empire, follow me. Lin Zhirong said as he led the way. They were going to the first sentry tower. Yixian was surprised. Lin Zhirong turned around and left. Was he not afraid that they would escape? However, he was overthinking. It turned out that Lin Zhirong's 2 followers had already arrived behind him and were monitoring him. Zhao Pan, Jiang Xian, you 2 go in front of me. Yixian said softly. Since the 2 followers were at the back, it was best for him to bring up the rear. He was afraid that the 2 followers would suddenly attack and kill Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian. The 50 people from the Black Wind Empire also directly entered the forest, appearing to be a little disorderly. However, Lin Zhirong's 2 followers always followed behind Yixian, afraid that Yixian would escape. Yixian estimated that, as long as they found the sentry tower, Lin Zhirong would probably make a move on them. Therefore, Yixian was also planning in his heart when to get rid of these 2 people. When Lin Zhirong was selecting people, he was actually sizing them up. Among the 50 people, there were about 20 at the peak of the true spirit realm, 30 at the true energy realm, and only he and Lin Zhirong were at the middle stage of the true energy realm. Therefore, Yixian's strength was the strongest in this group. After about 20 minutes, they finally saw a towering stone tower in front of them. 2 minutes later, they arrived at the bottom of the stone tower. Black sun iron, it's actually made of black sun iron. Oh my god. What? It's black sun iron. One of the materials used to forge high-grade spirit artifacts? It's at least 100 meters tall. So much black sun iron piled up to form this stone tower. Oh my god. It's said that black sun iron is extremely hard. Even experts at the peak of the true profound realm can't leave a mark on it. Everyone was shocked. The materials used to forge high-grade spirit artifacts were naturally expensive. Just this stone tower alone was equivalent to the wealth of a high-rank empire, or even several of them. Yixian was shocked as well. He walked up to the bottom of the stone tower and touched it. Devour, he said in his mind. Sorry, I can't devour it. It was the system's notification. Damn it, I don't know if it's because this stone tower is too big, or because there's a formation here. Yixian was really annoyed. The stone tower in front of him was comparable to a high-rank empire stone tower, but sadly, he couldn't devour it. He estimated that if he devoured this stone tower, he would be able to break through to the peak of the true profound realm, or even the divine core realm. But too bad he couldn't. I can't put the Tang Dynasty's identity medallion into my storage ring, and I can't even devour it. Looks like there's some kind of advanced formation here. I'll have to figure it out later. Yi Xian said in his mind. All right, everyone, go up the tower. Right at this moment, Lin Jirong suddenly said. The people below couldn't wait any longer. They all went up the tower, preparing to have a look at the top. End of chapter. Chapter 163. Yi Xian and the others were about to go up and take a look when Lin Jirong suddenly said, Yi Xian, the three of you, come with me and take a look. As expected, the fox's tail was exposed. All right. Yi Xian smirked. He was still thinking about how to get rid of Lin Jirong, but he didn't expect the other party to deliver himself to him. Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian exchanged glances before following behind Yi Xian. Lin Jirong left with his two lackeys and Yi Xian and the others. They moved quickly and left the stone pagoda in the blink of an eye. Yi Xian, I Lin Jirong have to admire you for your courage. Lin Jirong suddenly stopped and turned around. Haha, I Yi Xian also have to admire you for your stupidity. Yi Xian mimicked his tone. Lin Jirong was already confident that he had Yi Xian under control, so he was grinning from ear to ear. When he heard this, he laughed 3 times and asked, Why do you say that? If I were you, I would definitely use my authority to launch a group attack. But I didn't expect you to only bring the 2 of them. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. Lin Jirong was at mid-stage true energy realm, and his lackeys were at early-stage true energy realm just like the other 3. I don't know where you get your confidence from. How dare a lowly bastard from a low-level empire talk to me like that? Wei Jia, go and kill him. Lin Jirong's smile suddenly disappeared. Following that, the small-eyed sidekick walked out. Although he was only at early-stage true energy realm, they came from a high-level empire and were born with a sense of superiority. They all thought that they could kill enemies with higher cultivation realms. Kid, let me see what you're capable of. Small Eyes' lackey unsheathed his long sword. Don't make a move. Yi Xian whispered before walking out as well. He discovered that the treasured sword of his lackey was still a mid-grade spirit artifact. A high-level empire was indeed a high-level empire. They were rich. Kill him. I still need to go back and command the formation. Lin Jirong smiled again. He was the son of the Grand Marshal of the Black Wind Empire. He had fought many battles with his father, so he naturally had some skill in this aspect. All right. Small Eye's sidekick didn't want to waste any more time. He immediately rushed forward. However, as soon as he took a step forward, a figure appeared in front of him. Then he felt a sharp pain in his chest. Gotcha! A crisp sound rang out as a fist the size of a casserole landed directly on the left side of the lackey's left chest. Faintly, the roars of 2 demonic beasts could be heard. Spirit-level martial art, Tiger Wolf Roar. He didn't even have the time to use his second roar before his heart exploded. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell backwards. Yi Xian hastily snatched his treasured sword and Qian Kuan ring, then took a big stride forward. Tiger and Wolf Roar. Gotcha! The other follower also died tragically in an instant. From the beginning until now, only a second had passed. This scene happened so fast that Lin Jirong didn't even have time to react. This? Lin Jirong widened his eyes as he looked at his 2 followers who had turned into corpses. However, in the next moment, he heard the roars of demonic beasts again. Pagoda hand. Lin Jirong didn't have time to take out his weapon. He directly slapped forward. In an instant, a giant red palm formed by true essence blasted towards Yi Xian. Feeling the sudden pressure in front of him, Yi Xian's eyes narrowed. Middle-grade spirit-level martial art? A high-rank empire was indeed a high-rank empire. In addition to having a mid-grade spirit weapon, they also had a mid-grade spirit-level martial art. However, this was also within Yi Xian's expectations. Lin Jirong used a mid-grade spirit-level martial art empty-handed. Although he only had a low-grade Tiger Wolf Roar, he was wearing a mid-grade spirit weapon, Sky Silkworm Snow Silk Hands. Tiger Wolf Roar, second roar, break for me. Yi Xian didn't dodge in the slightest as he punched out again. Pung! When the 2 different true essences collided, a violent shockwave was produced. A nearby tree was directly blown apart. Even Zhao Pan, who used his true essence to protect himself, was almost blown away. The two true essences disappeared at almost the same time. Lin Zhirong was a little stunned. He was just about to send out a second palm strike when countless blades entered his body. The third stage of the myriad flower sword. Pooh! 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 72 blades, without exception, pierced into Lin Zhirong's body. However, these 72 rays of light all avoided the vital parts of the body. Lin Zhirong immediately let out a miserable cry. The true essence that he had gathered dissipated. Now you should know why I called you an idiot, right? Yixian walked to Lin Zhirong's side. Impossible, how do you have such strength? Lin Zhirong gritted his teeth and said in disbelief. The current him couldn't even move a finger. I wanted to let you live a little longer, but I didn't expect you to court death yourself. Yixian didn't answer his question and directly took off his interspatial ring. After checking it, he continued to ask, what you used just now was a mid-grade spirit-level martial art, right? So what if it was? Now, I'll give you a chance to live. Tell me the mid-grade spirit-level martial art, and I won't kill you. How about it? Yixian revealed a cunning expression. A mid-grade spirit-level martial art was worth tens of millions of martial arts. He estimated that the palm strike just now was worth at least 1,000,000 points. If he could get it, then he could save a lot of devour points. You think I'll believe you? Lin Zhirong wouldn't be fooled. You're the son of the Black Wind Empire's Grand Marshal. If I kill you, there will be a lot of trouble. Moreover, after entering the Soaring Heaven Mansion, will there be any lack of mid-grade spirit-level martial arts? I'm giving you a chance, don't waste it. Yixian's face suddenly turned cold. Although a mid-grade spirit-level martial art was precious, was it more important than his life? Although Lin Zhirong was not afraid of death, he didn't want to die like this. Are you sure you'll let me go? Lin Zhirong was a little shaken. At this time, Yixian suddenly took out a bottle of healing medicine and began to treat Lin Zhirong's injuries. At the same time he said, I, Yixian, am a man of my word. If I say I won't kill you, then I won't kill you. This mid-grade spirit-level martial art, Buddha hand, was precious, but his life was even more precious. At this time he was desperate, so he opened his mouth and recited the chant of this martial art. He knew that if he didn't say it, Yixian would definitely kill him. Very good, I'll remember it. Now that Yixian was a middle-stage true energy realm martial artist, his memory had improved a lot, so he memorized the chant in one go. Ding, you have successfully recorded the mid-grade spirit-level martial art, Buddha hand. Learning requires 150,000 devour points. Do you want to learn it? End of chapter. Chapter 164. Ding! You have successfully acquired the mid-grade spirit class martial art, Buddha's hand. Learning requires 150,000 devouring points. Do you wish to learn it? After hearing the notification, Yixian grinned. It seemed that Lin Zhirong had not lied to him and had not tampered with the chant. Very good. You are very honest. Yixian smiled. Let me go and we will forget about our grudges. Lin Zhirong did not forget to remind him at the end. Don't worry. I, Yixian, am a man of my word. If I say I won't kill you, I won't kill you. Yixian suddenly stood up and turned around. Fatty bro, I'll leave this to you. What? All three of them were shocked. Leave this to you? This Lin Zhirong has become your inner demon. If you don't kill him with your own hands, you will have trouble cultivating in the future. Go. Yixian explained. No, Yixian, you bastard. You can't go back on your words. Lin Zhirong immediately shouted. Sorry, I played a word game. I said I wouldn't kill you, but I never said I wouldn't let others kill you. Yixian looked at Lin Zhirong lying on the ground and smiled. Fatty bro, let's kill. We will not rest until one of us is dead. If you don't do it, I will. Okay. This time Zhao Pan did not hesitate. He took a step forward and stabbed with the frostlight sword. Rip. The sound of the sword piercing flesh was very moving. The frostlight sword easily pierced through Lin Zhirong's heart. Lin Zhirong never thought that he would suffer a double loss. Not only did he benefit Yixian, but he also died a horrible death. Rip. Zhao Pan pulled out the frostlight sword. At the same time, the strange look in Zhao Pan's eyes disappeared. Indeed, Lin Jirong had unknowingly become his inner demon. If he continued to cultivate, he could very well go berserk. But now it was gone. Then Yixian took Lin Jirong's interspatial ring and quickly dug a hole to bury the three of them. He also destroyed their identity tokens. Yixian, we came out together. If only the three of us go back, I'm afraid we will be suspected. Jiang Xian said worriedly. Who said we're going back? Yixian suddenly chuckled. He flipped the contents of the 3 universe rings upside down. Not going back? Zhao Pan was also shocked. Wasn't their mission to guard the first sentry tower? Yes, we're not going back. Yixian nodded and said, the battle between the 2 empires will definitely be huge. If you guys participate in such a chaotic battle, I'm afraid you guys will die very miserably. As for the 2 of you, your goal is only to enter the soaring firmament mansion, so all you need to do is to hide. After his reminder, Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian exchanged a glance. Indeed, their goal was to stay in the soaring firmament mansion. They didn't want to go to the Hell Mansion or the Heaven Mansion. Even if it was the Yellow Mansion, they would be satisfied. That's why the 2 of you don't need to get involved. Even if you lose 2 rounds, you can still enter the Yellow Mansion. Yixian continued. But the soaring firmament mansion won't accept hundreds of disciples. Zhao Pan asked again. That's right, but the 2 of you have already broken through to the initial stage of the true energy boundary. With a mid-grade spirit artifact and a mid-grade spirit martial art, the 2 of you can definitely surpass the geniuses of mid-grade empires. Don't worry, Yixian said as he took out a pen and paper. After a while, he wrote down the chant of the Buddha's hand. This is the mid-grade spirit martial art, the Buddha's hand. Use the remaining time to comprehend it. If you can learn it, passing the test won't be a problem. Yixian handed the chant over. A mid-grade spirit martial art? Are you sure you're giving it to us? Zhao Pan's jaw dropped. Even mid-grade empires didn't have a lot of mid-grade spirit martial arts. Even if they did, they would protect it as a national treasure and wouldn't carelessly spread it around. However, Yixian casually gave it to them. His breadth of mind wasn't ordinary. Hurry up and take it. I'll bring the 2 of you to a safe place to hide. Yixian threw the item over. Yixian, I Zhao Pan am truly a good friend. From now on my life is yours. Zhao Pan's eyes were brimming with tears. Jiang Xian remained silent, but Yixian could feel that he was very grateful to Yixian. Alright, enough nonsense. Follow me and I'll hide the 2 of you. Yixian said as he ran in a certain direction. Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian followed closely behind. About 10 minutes later, they arrived at the bottom of a cliff. Don't move. I'm going to dig a cave, Yixian said as he punched the cliff. A cave? Isn't that easy to discover? Zhao Pan asked in surprise. You'll find out soon enough. Yixian didn't explain further. He began to crazily crush the cliff with his heavenly silkworm snow silk hands. A full-powered punch from him would probably be able to crack the cliff. A casual swipe of his claws would be able to sink into the cliff. Thus it was extremely easy for him to dig. At first, Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian didn't understand Yixian's actions, but they soon understood. He first dug a hole less than half a meter above the ground for several people to hide in. Then, he formed a series of hand seals that Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian couldn't understand. You're going to set up an illusion formation? Zhao Pan asked curiously. That's right. You just need to set up an illusion formation that others won't discover. If there's nothing important, just stay inside and don't come out. Moreover, this place is quite far from the sentry tower. Most people won't come here, so you'll be very safe, Yixian said. You know how to refine pills, refine tools, and use spirit formations. Is there anything you don't know? Zhao Pan couldn't help but ask. Enough talk. You guys go in and take a look. Yixian couldn't be bothered to answer the question. Okay. Zhao Pan didn't waste any more words. He directly climbed into the cave through the hole. The hole was only the entrance. There was still more than 100 square meters of space to move around inside. After all, this was a cave that Yixian had dug for quite some time. The things that fell down had all been swallowed up by Yixian. Not a single piece of evidence was left behind. Good, very good. There's enough space in here for us to cultivate. Zhao Pan's excited voice came from inside. Since that's the case, I'll start setting up the formation. Flourishing pavilion of the sea market, rise for me. Yixian formed the last hand seal. Then a burst of true yuan gushed out. With a clap of his hand, Yixian struck the stone peak with the true yuan. Then something strange happened. The hole in the stone actually disappeared. This illusion formation was very simple. It just refracted the stone walls from elsewhere to here. As long as one didn't reach in, they wouldn't be discovered. Alright, I'll be leaving first. I'll come back to call you when the time comes. Yixian shouted inside. End of chapter. Chapter 165. Alright. Be careful. Zhao Pan replied. Then, he destroyed the 2 identity tokens. With that, even those from the same faction as him would not be able to sense his presence. Yixian nodded silently and quickly rushed out. After settling Zhao Pan and Zhou Luan, he felt as though a huge rock had been lifted from his heart. Now he could unleash his full strength. At that moment he dashed forward madly. Guard the stone tower? What a joke! His plan was to cross the river and take down the stone tower. The Great Tang Dynasty and the Great Zhou Dynasty were about the same strength. Originally, the 4 dynasties could directly send people to the Soaring Sky Mansion without needing to go through the test. However, from this year onwards they would have to participate. On the Great Tang Dynasty's side, there was Tang Tian, who was at the True Profound Realm. The other 2 were also at the peak of the True Energy Realm. The Great Zhou Dynasty's Zhou Luan was also at the True Profound Realm. At the same time, he also brought along 2 geniuses at the peak of the True Energy Realm. Therefore, the peak battle strength of the 2 camps was about the same. Yixian felt that as long as he did not encounter Tang Tian and Zhou Luan, it would not be a problem. If he encountered them, Yixian was not confident that he could defeat them. After all, they were both princes of the same dynasty. The martial arts they learned were probably at the middle grade of the spirit level. They might even have high-grade spirit weapons. After leaving, Yixian headed straight for the river. He spent 5 hours before he saw the river. This meant that with his speed, he could run from one entrance to the other in about 5 hours. Of course, this was with his speed. If it was someone else, it would probably take 1 or 2 days. Yixian arrived at the river. That Lin Zhirong and his 2 followers only have about 4,000 low-grade crystals on them. It's probably not even a tenth of the experience required to level up. If I want to break through again, I have to kill my way to the enemy camp. Yixian looked at the calm river and thought to himself. Although a middle-grade spirit weapon could be sold for many crystals, it only gave him 50,000 devour points, which was equivalent to 500 low-grade crystals. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Therefore, Yixian gave up and directly devoured it. As for the other items, including the interspatial ring, they were all devoured by Yixian. In total, they were worth about 4,000 low-grade crystals. After breaking through, the amount of experience he gained increased exponentially, so Yixian needed to find a way to level up. Without a doubt, crossing the river was a good choice. Right at this moment, there was a sudden disturbance at the bottom of the calm river. Yixian's eyes narrowed as he discovered that there was actually a spirit beast at the bottom of the river. The only thing he didn't know was what rank of spirit beast it was. As expected, the test is not that simple. I wonder what level of spirit beast it is. If it is at the true energy boundary, I'm afraid that ordinary people would not be able to cross the river. Yixian pondered for a moment. In the water, a martial artist's battle prowess was greatly reduced. He was afraid that he would be challenged by spirit beasts of a higher rank. He estimated that an early-stage true energy realm underwater spirit beast might be able to kill a middle-stage true energy realm genius. However, he was no ordinary person. A true energy realm spirit beast's corpse and inner core would be worth more than 1,000 low-grade crystals. I'll go down and try. With a thought, Yixian upgraded the bloodline of the blade fish that had helped him escape from MT Blackwater to the middle stage. With this bloodline, Yixian's speed in the water would only be slightly slower than on land. Splash! Without taking off his clothes, Yixian directly jumped into the river and quickly dived down. This river was very deep, at least a few hundred meters. The deeper he went, the darker it became. Helpless, Yixian could only use his true energy to break through the water to illuminate his surroundings. Gulp gulp. Yixian, who had condensed his true energy into a blade fish, quickly swam around in the water. Within a few minutes he found a spirit beast. It was a giant octopus, at least the size of a hot air balloon. Damn it, you scared me to death. Don't you know that I have deep-sea phobia? Yixian angrily shouted in his heart and suddenly struck out with his palm. Mid-grade spirit-level martial arts. Buddha hand. A huge energy palm directly broke through the water and instantly blasted the head of the giant octopus. Boom! The true essence suddenly exploded, and this big octopus was directly blasted backwards. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yixian quickly swam over. Spirit-level martial arts. One-word spirit light slash. Yixian took out his cold light sword and slashed at the giant octopus. Now his points were as high as 1.5 million, and the highest low-grade spirit-level martial skill was only 30,000 points, so he could learn it if he wanted to. A long white light flashed, directly cutting the giant octopus into 2 halves. This chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Then Yixian quickly rushed over, put his hands on the 2 halves of the corpse and swallowed them. Ding, the host has swallowed a spirit beast corpse, and gained 10,000 points. Ding, the host has swallowed a spirit beast inner core, and gained 100,000 points. It's really an early stage true energy realm spirit beast, but it's not bad. Let's see if there are any middle stage true energy realm spirit beasts. Immediately, Yixian began to swim around. Although the experience points of an early stage true energy realm spirit beast were not high, it would be very good if there were dozens of them. But he was disappointed. He spent a few hours swimming around the river, but only found 15 early stage true energy realm spirit beasts, including large sharks, large crabs, and large jellyfish. However, Yixian swallowed 13 of the 15 early stage true energy realm spirit beasts, leaving behind 2 inner cores for Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian. If he added the previous ones, his points would be almost 3 million, which was enough to upgrade the Wind Leopard bloodline and 100 Flower bloodline to the high level. Unfortunately, his cultivation level was not high enough. If he forced the fusion, his cultivation level would drop and he would explode and die. He did not dare to casually try. I didn't expect that the experience points were less than half. Sigh. In the water, Yixian shook his head helplessly. He had spent half a day searching, but he only gained so little. If he had known, he would have killed his way to the other side. That way he might have gained more. However, at this moment he suddenly felt that something was wrong. Something big is coming. After his 100 beast bloodline was upgraded to the middle stage, Yixian could vaguely sense the spirit beasts around him. He sensed that a big guy was swimming toward him. Looks like it's a middle stage true energy realm spirit beast. Good one. Yixian's eyes lit up. He immediately slashed a few times in a direction. The true energy slashes cut across a distance of several hundred meters. Just as they were about to disappear, they suddenly illuminated a humongous creature. It's so big. I'm afraid it's even bigger than that octopus. Yixian could not help but shudder. After mentally preparing himself, he rushed over. He attacked as he moved forward. Finally, he recognized the spirit beast. It was a giant tortoise. A tortoise bigger than an airplane. End of chapter. Chapter 166. Oh my god. Yixian was truly shocked. This world was truly amazing. He had just seen a giant octopus, a giant shark, and a giant crab. Now there was a giant tortoise. It took me a lot of effort to kill that giant crab. I wonder if I can break through this giant tortoise's defense. Yixian thought to himself. At this moment, a loud rumbling sound came from the front. Yixian squinted his eyes but did not see anything. However, something was flying toward him. He immediately dodged. Just as he dodged, a beam of energy directly passed through his previous position and disappeared into the distance. Bang! After flying for a few hundred meters, the energy suddenly exploded. Instantly, the water at the location of the explosion was blasted away, forming a vacuum. F***ck, what the hell is that? A water mine? Yixian was shocked. If he did not dodge and took the attack head-on, he would have been smashed to pieces. It was obvious that the energy was released by the giant tortoise. Oh no, it's coming again. Yixian's face darkened and he quickly left. Sure enough, another beam of energy swept over from the darkness. Boom! The beam of energy exploded again. F***ck, are you a water arrow tortoise? You're so good at shooting. Take this. Yixian shouted in his heart. His entire body swept toward the giant tortoise like an arrow released from a bow. Soon he saw the giant tortoise's giant head. Buddha's hand. As Yixian slapped out his palm, a vital essence giant palm blasted toward the giant tortoise's head. Middle-grade spiritual level martial arts coupled with Yixian's mid-grade spiritual weapon and realm were enough to cause damage to the giant tortoise. Bang! The giant palm blasted onto the giant tortoise's bald head. Immediately, the tortoise's head trembled and let out a loud roar. However, in the next moment, Yixian felt very helpless. After the big turtle was attacked, it actually retracted its head and drilled into its shell. This was not the main point. The main point was that this was not an ordinary tortoise. After it retracted its head and limbs, a layer of tortoise shell suddenly extended to protect its head and limbs. Holy sh*t, he's got a cheat. Is he King Robot? Yixian cursed in his heart. He didn't expect this big guy to be so cowardly. It had only been attacked once, and it had already become a coward. If it did not come out, Yixian would have no choice but to attack the turtle's shell. Fine, if you don't come out, I'll take apart your turtle shell. Yixian cursed as he leaped onto the tortoise's back. Then, he took out his star-chasing bow and pulled it to its full capacity. Sharpshooter. A cold light flashed and shot directly at the tortoise shell. Undamaged. The star-chasing bow was a mid-grade spiritual weapon. Normal people would not be able to pull it to its full capacity. However, Yixian had the bloodline of 100 beasts. Pulling it to its full capacity would not be a problem for him to shoot 1,000 meters. Moreover, sharpshooter was an extremely penetrative martial art. It had killed many people before. Except for that Blood Wolf, it had penetrated almost everyone. However, at that time he and Blood Wolf were 2 levels apart. However, such an attack was unable to break through the tortoise's shell. This showed how strong the tortoise's defense was. I don't believe that I can't break through your defense. Yixian suddenly felt a surge of anger in his heart. He began to attack quickly, continuously shooting at the same spot on the tortoise shell. Against such a high defense, it was natural to focus his attacks on one spot. As long as he was given some time, he would definitely be able to break through this tortoise shell. Gurgle, gurgle. Gurgle, gurgle. Beam after beam of cold light shot out, almost hitting the same spot. After the 18th beam of great piercing was shot out, a crack finally appeared on the tortoise shell. Haha, cowardly tortoise, you're finished. Yixian was overjoyed. He directly landed on the tortoise shell and smashed down with his fist. Spirit level martial art, Tiger Wolf Roar. Double roar. Boom. The cracks instantly spread several meters. Again Tiger Wolf Roar. Boom. The cracks spread again. At this time Yixian suddenly jumped away. Mid-grade spirit level martial art Pagoda Hand Break for me. When the true essence giant palm hit the tortoise shell, the cracks instantly spread more than 10 meters. Good, it's about time. Yixian's eyes flashed. He suddenly rushed down and smashed down with his fist. Then, he directly inserted his hands into the shell. Rise for me, Yixian shouted. With a sound, the veins on his arms bulged. He actually pulled out a piece of the tortoise shell. Roar! The big tortoise roared. The tortoise's shell was stuck to its back. Having a piece of its shell pulled out was not an ordinary pain. Yixian directly ignored it and pulled again. A second piece of the tortoise shell was pulled out. The big tortoise immediately poked its head out and began to wander quickly. However, Yixian stayed on its back and did not leave. After a while, dozens of pieces of the big tortoise's shell were torn out. It was about 20 square meters in size. Then Yixian took out his Cloudbreaker bow and shot wildly. Although he did not know the structure of the tortoise's body, so many pieces of its shell had been torn apart. He only needed to attack a few times to kill this big tortoise. This time, without exception, all the arrows sank into the tortoise's meat. The big tortoise screamed in pain. It wanted to shake off Yixian, but it could not do so. At this moment, Yixian suddenly shot an arrow at the center of the tortoise shell. Puff! The arrow disappeared. Then, Yixian felt the big tortoise's body tremble violently. Then it sank down again. It's dead. Yixian was stunned. Then he pressed his hand on the tortoise shell. Devour! In an instant, the tortoise, which was even bigger than the great rock, disappeared into thin air. It's really dead, Yixian exhaled. Although there was only one arrow of light after it was shot, when it hit the enemy, it would instantly produce a high-speed rotating force. The people who were shot in the head by Yixian previously only had 2 bloody holes in the front and back. However, their brains were almost completely torn apart by the force. Yixian had already shot the big tortoise's internal organs full of holes. Now the tortoise's heart was pierced, so it died instantly. Ding! Host has devoured a spirit beast corpse. The reward is 50,000 devouring points. Ding! Host has devoured a spirit beast's inner core. The reward is 800,000 devouring points. After hearing the notification, Yixian could not help but cry out in surprise. This big tortoise actually gave so much experience. Moreover, it was only at the middle stage of the true energy realm. If it was at the peak of the true energy realm, Yixian would have broken through to the peak of the true energy realm. What a pity, what a pity! The Blood Wolf's inner core was given to the retired emperor. Otherwise, I would have reached the peak of the true energy realm long ago. End of chapter. Chapter 167. Yixian shook his head helplessly. Although it was a pity, his experience points were more than half after devouring the giant tortoise. If he had 2 or 3 more tortoises, he would have been able to level up. Forget it, I won't look for monsters in the river to kill. Yixian thought for a moment, then quickly swam upstream. He had been in the water for half a day. When he returned to the shore, it was already night time. The forest beside the river was already filled with the sounds of insects. After the battle just now, Yixian had consumed a lot of his inner qi. He immediately took out an elixir and used the deep mystic sword technique to recover his inner qi. However, at this moment, Yixian suddenly opened his eyes because he felt a large group of people quickly approaching him. It's the enemy. He suddenly realized what was going on. He came ashore in the direction of the Great Zhou dynasty. In other words, the people who came were the geniuses of the Great Zhou dynasty. The heavens are really helping me. Why did you choose to come at night of all times? Yixian immediately stood up and revealed a devilish smile. He now had 11 bloodlines in his body, and one of them was called the Shadow Leopard. The Shadow Leopard was a type of monster that could use the shadows to hide and then sneak attack the enemy. However, the Shadow Leopard bloodline was only at the elementary level, so Yixian directly upgraded it to the intermediate level. As long as he did not make a sound, no one would be able to discover him. Perhaps they would only discover him if they were standing face to face. The hunt begins. At this moment, the team of more than 20 people had also arrived at the riverside. They were only about 50 meters away from Yixian. Captain, will there be spirit beasts in the river? Suddenly someone asked. I'm not sure, but this river is only 200 meters wide. If we swim with all our strength, it will only take us a dozen seconds. Don't worry. A warrior with long hair replied. But the sky is so dark now. If there really are spirit beasts in the river, it will be quite troublesome. I suggest we set up camp and wait until tomorrow. Someone suggested. That's right, I agree. Anyway, this assessment will last for 30 days. This is only the first day. We'll just do it. Rest by the river. Maybe someone from the Great Tang dynasty will come. At that time we can launch a sneak attack. Yes, this is a good idea. When the long-haired cultivator heard everyone's opinion, he nodded slightly. Although it would only take a little more than 10 seconds to cross the river, it was better to rest for the night just to be safe. Alright, let's rest here. Don't go too far and don't start a fire. The long-haired martial artist nodded. Yes, Captain. This group of people didn't know that danger was approaching. They all sat down and took out dry rations and water. At this moment, Yixian had already found a good spot with the help of the Shadow Leopard's bloodline and took out his star-chasing bow. The dark Shadow Leopard could hide his body, but his weapons couldn't. The star-chasing bow shone with a silver light, and under the moonlight, it would be easily discovered. However, his hand speed was extremely fast. Before the other party noticed, he had already shot out a few arrows. Chaotic arrow. His cultivation level was higher than most of the people in this team. Coupled with the fact that he had a mid-grade spirit weapon, even if he used ordinary martial arts, he could still cause great damage. Boom! 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 9 consecutive explosions sounded. In an instant 9 people's heads were blown up by true essence. This team had a total of 20 people. Excluding the long-haired cultivator in the mid-grade of the true element realm, the rest were all in the early grade of the true element realm or the peak of the true spirit realm. None of them could block Yixian's sneak attack. Enemy! There were still some people who reacted and shouted. However, it seemed that he didn't need to shout for the others to know. Find them! The long-haired cultivator was also shocked. With his cultivation level, he didn't notice the people from the Great Tang Dynasty. What a failure! Just now, he only knew that the 9 arrows came from one direction, so he immediately launched an attack in that direction. Countless sword shadows flashed and blasted Yixian's position into pieces. However, before this, Yixian had already moved his position. Wang! Using the mid-grade supersonic bat bloodline, Yixian could detect the exact location of these people as soon as he closed his eyes. Berserk Chaos Arrow. Yixian shot 9 more arrows. His true essence emitted a faint light, like the stars in the night sky. Boom! 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 This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Another 9 rumbling sounds rang out, and another 9 martial artists fell. Now only 2 people were left. The long-haired martial artist was still alive, and the other was a martial artist at the peak of the true spirit realm. When he saw that his fellow martial artist had been killed before he even noticed the other party, he immediately turned around and left. However, before he could even take 2 steps, his head was pierced by a burst of energy. Not good. The long-haired cultivator thought to himself. He hurriedly turned around and prepared to jump into the river to survive. However, Yixian's speed and temperament were fast. At the same time that he leaped up, he'd already thrown out a long whip and accurately wrapped it around his neck, directly pulling him back. A low-grade spirit artifact was very cheap. Yixian could buy it whenever he wanted. Tell me the Great Zhou Dynasty's strategy and I'll spare your life. Yixian took out his cold light sword and held it against his opponent's neck. If his opponent made any moves, he would immediately cut off his opponent's head. The long-haired cultivator's heart turned cold, but he still shook his head. Don't even think about it. Don't be ungrateful. I'm a man of my word. As long as you tell me the Great Zhou Dynasty's strategy, I won't kill you, Yixian said. Impossible. The long-haired cultivator said resolutely. Fine. I gave you a chance to live. You didn't cherish it. Go die. Yixian did not waste any more words. Since this person did not want to talk, he would go find out himself. However, just as he was about to act, the long-haired cultivator suddenly shouted, Wait! Do you have any last words? Yixian's eyes turned cold. The long-haired cultivator hesitated. He was not from the Great Zhou Dynasty. There was no need for him to risk his life for the Great Zhou Dynasty. If he died, what did the Great Zhou Dynasty's victory have to do with him? Final talk. The long-haired cultivator finally compromised. The Great Zhou Dynasty has a total of 580 people. They are divided into more than 20 teams. All of them are led by true element boundary experts. Among them, 20 teams are guarding 2 sentry towers. The rest are all heading to the Great Tang Dynasty. What about Zhou Wan? Yixian continued to ask. Zhou Wan is leading 3 true element boundary experts. Each of them is in a team. I think they have already crossed the river. Hearing him say this, Yixian also understood Zhou Wan's plan. He wanted to rely on these experts to make a comeback. Zhou Wan was at the true profound realm. In addition to the 3 true element boundary experts, if such a combination attacked the Great Tang Dynasty, none of the sentry towers would be able to defend. And the assessment time was 1 month. They had enough time to destroy these 5 sentry towers. No, it would not even take a month. End of chapter. Chapter 168. If Zhou Wan and the others are faster, they can destroy a sentry tower the next day and move on to the next one before the Great Tang Dynasty can react. Then, the Great Tang Dynasty will lose in less than a week. Yixian thought to himself. On his side, Tang Tian and hundreds of people were also preparing to cross the river. They might encounter Zhou Wan, but if they did not, it would be troublesome. Looks like I still have to do it, Yixian said in his heart. He then took the long-haired martial artist Qian Kuan ring and said, I will do what I say. You can go now. The long-haired martial artist was actually very nervous. How could he not know the cruelty of this world? For some things, even brothers could turn against each other, let alone a promise. Thank you, brother. The long-haired martial artist clasped his fist at Yixian and then quickly left. Yixian also quickly put away the spoils of war. Just the 20 Qiankuan rings were not a small number, not to mention the things inside. 2 middle-grade spiritual weapons, a lot of heaven and earth treasures and crystals. Fisksk. Yixian poured all these things into the devouring space and then devoured them all. The harvest was not bad, adding up to 1 million devouring points. At this time, his devouring points had reached 5 million. With another 1 or 2 million, he estimated that he could break through. Then he directly moved in a direction. The long-haired martial artist was directly sent to the Great Tang Dynasty's territory and did not know the location of the sentry tower, so he did not ask. Moreover, he was not going to find the sentry tower but to find people. The first battle of the dynasty was very crucial. It determined whether a dynasty would go to the heaven and earth mansions or the black and yellow mansions. If they lost the first battle and won the second battle, they could only enter the profound mansions. If they won the first battle and lost the second battle, they could at least enter the underworld mansions. Therefore, Yixian was ready to go all out. If that person did not lie to me, the great Zhou dynasty's troops should have reached the river, Yixian thought as he walked around the river. According to the long-haired cultivator, the Great Tang dynasty was divided into 4 groups. 2 groups guarded the 2 sentry towers, 1 group crossed the river to attract the enemy, and the last group was Zhou Wan's group of 4 to destroy the enemy sentry tower. Yixian's goal was to find the 3rd group, which was one of the 10 or so teams. Sure enough, after searching for more than an hour, he did indeed encounter a second team. The configuration was the same as the previous team with 20 people. Oh? And the one leading the team is at the peak of the true energy boundary? Yixian hid in the bushes and tried to sense it, but he was too far away from the other party. This was just a guess. Perhaps he was also in the middle stage of the true energy realm. Then he quietly approached. More than 20 people moved together in a disorderly manner. In addition, Yixian's footsteps were very light, so no one noticed him. Everyone, get ready to cross the river. Suddenly a loud and clear voice rang out. It was the expert leading the group. But it was also at this moment that Yixian made his move. Chaotic arrow. 9 cold rays of light shot out, and instantly 9 rumbling sounds rang out. By the time the other party reacted, only 2 people were left. Which scoundrel are you? Do you dare to come out and fight with me? The brawny man shouted loudly. Idiot! Yixian, who was hiding in the dark, drew his bow again and killed the 19th person. Then, he began to attack the brawny man. Whoosh! Bang! But what surprised Yixian was that the brawny man actually dodged his 100-step piercing willow leaf. It seems that you are indeed at the peak of the true energy boundary. I want to see how many times you can block. Yixian sneered in his heart. Then he began to attack crazily. 100-step piercing willow leaf was only a low-grade spiritual level martial art, and he was already at the true energy boundary, so the consumption was negligible. Whoosh! 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 The brawny man was very fast and dodged all of the attacks. This was the first time this had happened. Middle-grade spiritual level martial art? Yixian was shocked for a moment. Then greed appeared in his eyes. In the devouring space, the cheapest middle-grade spiritual level martial art required 2 million devouring points. No wonder you can dodge it. Since you asked me to come out, I will come out. Yixian did not hide anymore. After putting away his star-chasing bow, he dashed forward. In the forest, the 2 figures came into contact. Tiger wolf roar. 9 blazing emperor fist. Rumble. The surrounding figures were shaken to the point of shaking. This time they were actually evenly matched. Middle grade true energy boundary? How is this possible? The brawny man was shocked. He could clearly feel that Yixian was only at the middle grade true energy boundary, which was 1 level lower than him. Moreover, he was using a middle-grade spiritual level martial art. If it was a sneak attack, it would be enough to kill a true darkness boundary expert. However, such an attack could only draw with the brawny man. It was obvious that the brawny man was not an ordinary person. Haha, do you think this is all I can do? Second level roar. Yi Xian suddenly laughed. Boom! This time the brawny man was pushed back a few steps. He was shocked. It was not a draw, but he was at a disadvantage. Try this again. As soon as he finished speaking, the brawny man saw a huge palm of true energy coming toward him. 9 blazing emperor fist. Rumble. The brawny man punched the true essence giant palm, shattering it. Although the pagoda hand was a middle-grade spiritual level martial art, it used true energy. On the other hand, although the tiger wolf roar was a lower-grade spiritual level martial art, it used true energy to wrap around the arm so its power would be increased. Therefore, the power of these two martial arts was similar. However, after the brawny man dispersed the true energy palm, his eyes widened. He suddenly realized that Yi Xian had disappeared. No, he did not disappear. He was right in front of him. Die! Yi Xian shouted and punched the brawny man's abdomen. Qi instantly rushed into the brawny man's body, shattering some of his organs. Then Yi Xian twisted his hands and broke both of the brawny man's arms. Then he kicked the brawny man, leaving only one leg that he could move. Gulp, gulp. The brawny man fell to the ground, blood gushing out of his throat. He could not understand how he could be defeated by someone who was at the peak of the true energy realm. Tell me the mnemonics of the 2 middle-grade spiritual level martial arts, and I will let you live. Yi Xian's voice fell into his ears. Not possible. The brawny man was determined. Middle-grade spiritual level martial arts are precious, but can they be compared to life? Don't worry, I will do what I say. Yi Xian continued. Even if I die, I will not tell you. The brawny man stammered. All right. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly, then pierced the brawny man's heart with his sword. He saw that the brawny man's eyes were completely different from the long-haired martial artist from before. It seemed that this brawny man did not want the middle-grade spiritual level martial arts of his empire to be leaked. End of chapter. Chapter 169. Forget it, let's clean up the spoils. Yi Xian felt that it was a pity. The body movement and fist techniques used by the burly man were both middle spiritual level martial arts. If he had obtained them, his strength would have greatly increased. Unfortunately, the burly man would rather die than tell him. Then Yi Xian cleaned up the battlefield. When he devoured all the spoils of war, his eyes lit up. He had leveled up. 7 million devouring points, what a tycoon! Yi Xian was extremely shocked. Of these 2,700,000 devour points, 1 million were provided by the burly man. This was because there were actually 50 mid-grade crystals in his universe ring. 1 mid-grade crystal was equivalent to 100 low-grade crystals. 50 middle crystals were equivalent to 5,000 lower crystals. Sure enough, it was faster to kill and steal. I am now at the peak of the true energy realm. I should be able to contend with Zhou Wan and Tang Tian now. Yi Xian thought to himself. Zhou Wan, the crown prince of the great Zhou dynasty. Tang Tian, the crown prince of the great Tang dynasty. Both of them were at the early stage of the true darkness realm. Moreover, both of them probably had upper spiritual level martial arts and upper spiritual weapons. Their strength was extraordinary. Therefore, Yi Xian could only rely on his strength and speed. After breaking through to the peak of the true energy realm, Yi Xian's speed had increased by another level. However, after searching for 2 hours, he did not see anyone from the great Zhou dynasty. It seems that these people took advantage of the night to cross the river. I'd better go find the sentry tower. Yi Xian thought for a moment, then didn't stop and started running. Zhou Wan and the other 3 had gone to the sentry tower and should have reached the great Tang dynasty's territory by now. This meant that no one in the great Zhou dynasty's territory could stop Yi Xian. Moreover, Zhou Wan had 3 peak true energy realm martial artists with him, so they might not be faster than Yi Xian. In addition, the great Zhou dynasty had lost 2 teams of 20 people, so 40 people died on the first day. Overall, the great Tang dynasty had the upper hand. It was already late at night, and several hours had passed since Yi Xian had broken through. Now his speed was much faster than before. In fact, he had already arrived at the place where he thought there might be a sentry tower. It was just that he hadn't found it yet. Perhaps it was because of the color of the sky. Soon the sky began to brighten. However, before the sun had even risen, Yi Xian finally found a watchtower. He quietly approached the sentry tower and closed his eyes to sense for a moment. He found that there was no one in the sentry tower. Is it empty? Yixian pondered for a moment before he leaped onto the Moyang Iron Guard Tower. This sentry tower was 100 meters tall and towered into the clouds. Moreover, there was only one spiral staircase. If one wanted to reach the top, this was the only way to go. Yixian arrived at the top of the stone pagoda. There was only one large stone tablet that was half the height of a person. It seemed that this was the so-called pagoda suppressing stone. His fist landed on the large stone tablet. The stone tablet was like a bubble that was easily shattered by him. Then an old voice rang out in the sky. The first pagoda suppressing stone of the Great Zhou dynasty has been destroyed. Hearing this, Yixian was also shocked. He raised his head to look but didn't see anything. There should be someone guarding the sentry tower. Yixian reacted. However, he did not hear any other voices. It seemed that Zhou Wan had not found the first sentry tower. Earlier, that aged voice had resounded throughout the entire mountain valley. Thus everyone had heard it. In an instant, the people from both sides were shocked. In the territory of the Great Tang dynasty, a young man suddenly raised his head and exclaimed, "How is this possible?" This person was the crown prince of the Great Zhou dynasty, Zhou Wan. Moreover, he had already found a sentry tower and was preparing to attack it. "Your Highness, we just found one of the enemy's sentry towers, but they have already destroyed one of ours. It seems that we are not far ahead," said a young man beside him. "However, the sentry tower that we were uprooted from should be unguarded. As long as there is a person, he can destroy it. I think that this person should be a spy from the Great Tang dynasty. Let's not care too much and attack." Zhou Wan gave the order and immediately charged towards one of the sentry towers of the Great Tang dynasty. Each sentry tower of the Great Tang dynasty was guarded by 50 people. However, each sentry tower had at most 1 or 2 people at the peak of the true energy realm. They could not stop Zhou Wan at all. Soon, all the people in the sentry tower were killed by Zhou Wan and the other 3 people. Crack! When the pagoda suppressing stone at the top of the sentry tower shattered, another voice rang out in the sky. "The first pagoda suppressing stone of the Great Tang dynasty has been destroyed." Now this chapter does not end, please turn the page. Here it is a tie. At the same time, in the territory of the Great Zhou dynasty, the crown prince of the Great Tang dynasty, Tang Tian, had led a few experts deep into the enemy's territory. When he first heard the news, he was shocked. Someone had destroyed the sentry tower of the Great Zhou dynasty before him. This was a good thing. However, in the next moment he suddenly realized something. He had also brought 2 peak of the true energy realm experts to cross the river first. The main force was probably behind. However, someone had actually found the sentry tower of the Great Zhou dynasty before him. This meant that there were only 2 possibilities. 1. There was a spy in the Great Zhou dynasty and he destroyed the pagoda suppressing stone. 2. There was an expert in the Great Tang dynasty. Not long after this voice rang out, he heard the news that his own pagoda suppressing stone had been destroyed. He immediately said, "Forget it, continue searching." The pagoda suppressing stone was the key to this dynasty war. This was not a competition of who could destroy the most but who could destroy it first. Having an expert was a good thing. 2 hours later, Tang Tian also found another sentry tower. Furthermore, it was also an unguarded tower. The second pagoda suppressing stone of the Great Zhou dynasty has been destroyed. When he heard the news, Zhou Wan, who was in the territory of the Great Tang dynasty, was shocked. Within 2 hours, 2 sentry towers were destroyed. Furthermore, the distance between the 2 sentry towers was very far. Hence, it was impossible for the same group to do it. Damn it! Tang Tian is actually moving alone. Zhou Wan guessed in his heart. Then he directly said, "The 3 of you split up and search. If you find him, use the sky-piercing cannon." "Yes, Your Highness." The 3 peak of the true energy realm nodded and turned to leave. If they were to move together, the consequences would be unimaginable. Another few hours passed. After destroying the first sentry tower, Yixian found another one. However, he realized that the pagoda suppressing stone at the top of this sentry tower had been destroyed. Did Tang Tian do it? Yixian surveyed the surroundings from the top of the sentry tower. Previously, he came from the edge of the valley and destroyed the first sentry tower, which was the one closest to the edge. The one they had found was the closest one to that one. It seemed that Tang Tian had gone to the sentry tower in the middle. End of chapter. Chapter 170. If the Great Zhou dynasty really only has 2 watchtowers, then it must be the 2 on the other side. If one is lost, then they can immediately reinforce the other. A picture appeared in Yixian's mind. Assuming that the first watchtower he dismantled was number 1, and the one below him was number 2, then Tang Tian should be looking for number 3. As for number 4 and 5, they should be the watchtowers guarded by hundreds of people from the Great Zhou dynasty. TSK 20 teams, for 100 people guarding the watchtowers, I can't let Tang Tian steal them. Yixian thought to himself. After confirming the direction, he quickly rushed out. Hundreds of geniuses, they must be very rich. If he could dismantle a watchtower alone, then he could probably level up again. Immediately, he walked towards the other side of the valley. This time he wanted to go to number 5 watchtower because Tang Tian had already left for 2 hours. Yixian estimated that he only needed 1 day to find number 5 watchtower. Then, he would spend some time to kill the opponent, then he would be able to break through to True Darkness Realm. In fact, at the beginning, Yixian had a plan which was to not cross the river and directly kill his own people to level up. However, this method was too cruel and would easily expose his identity. After all, this was not a single battle, there was still a second battle. If his identity was exposed, he was not afraid of being alone, but Zhao Pan and Zhang Xian would become the target of everyone, so he did not dare to act recklessly. However, a few hours after he left number 2 watchtower, a voice sounded in the sky. The Great Tang Dynasty's second watchtower stone has been destroyed. Upon hearing this news, Yixian's footsteps paused. There were people guarding all 5 watchtowers of the Great Tang Dynasty, but 2 watchtowers had already been destroyed, which meant that hundreds of people had died. However, the number of people did not matter. After all, under normal circumstances it would not be a draw. Not long after this news, the 3rd watchtower of the Great Zhou dynasty was also dismantled, probably by Tang Tian. At this time Zhou Luan, who was in the Great Tang dynasty's territory, panicked. The Great Zhou dynasty only had 2 watchtowers left, while the Great Tang dynasty still had 3 watchtowers, and they were all guarded. If this continued, he would be the one to lose. However, if he rushed back now, it would take 2 to 3 days, it would be too late. Therefore, they could only fight. The Great Tang dynasty's 3rd pagoda stone has been destroyed. When this sentence resounded through the sky, everyone's nerves were stretched to the extreme. The battle between the dynasties had reached its climax. No one would have thought that it would only take 3 days for the battle to reach its climax. It was estimated that in another 2 days, the outcome would be decided. In the current situation, the Great Tang dynasty had the advantage, but the remaining 2 sentry towers of the Great Zhou dynasty were not so easy to take. After a day of traveling, Yixian finally found the Great Zhou dynasty's number 5 sentry tower. At this moment, he used the supersonic bat bloodline to clearly sense that there were many people inside and outside the sentry tower. There were at least 100 of them. There are too few people. There should only be 5 teams. It seems that the remaining 15 teams are guarding the 4th tower. Oh, if we directly charge in, I'm afraid we'll be besieged. We need to exhaust their fighting strength bit by bit. He had been to the sentry tower before, so he understood its internal structure. Therefore, he guessed that there should be about 50 people in the sentry tower, and 50 people guarding outside. Therefore, his goal was to eliminate the 50 people outside first. If it was before, he would not have much confidence in facing so many people, but now that he had broken through, even Zhou Luan would not be able to do anything to him. Therefore, he directly killed his way out. Enemy sneak attack. After a few warriors were killed, someone immediately shouted. These people were scattered, so Yixian could not kill all 9 of them at once. However, this did not matter. It was only a matter of time before he killed all of them. Whoosh! 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 Streaks of cold light flashed, and rumbles continuously came from the forest. The arrows of violence and chaos were not always accurate. In a short while, a large number of trees fell. Because it was broad daylight, Yixian had been discovered. At this moment, there were at least 20 people following behind him. Forget it, no more guerrilla warfare. Let's fight to our heart's content. Yixian suddenly put away his star-chasing bow, paused for a moment, and then quickly flew back. Bastards, prepare to die. Yi Xian shouted loudly as he suddenly swept out with his sword. Spirit-level martial art. Single word spirit light slash. This huge slash cut through the silence, instantly cutting down the trees blocking the way. The cut was very neat. Some people didn't manage to dodge and were directly chopped in half. Someone felt the strength of this true essence and immediately shouted, "It's a peak true element realm expert. Quickly go back and call for experts." Want to leave? Have you asked for my permission? In an instant, Yi Xian transformed into a great killing god. Buddha's hand. Single word spirit light slash. Myriad flower sword. Tiger wolf roar. No one could withstand his move. After one move, someone was bound to die. In less than 10 seconds, the 20 people who chased after him were all dead. Yi Xian was also very nimble. He quickly collected these people's belongings and directly devoured them. The devouring system had a troublesome aspect. It could not directly devour the items in the interspatial ring. If the interspatial ring was devoured, the items inside would disappear. No one knew where they went. After devouring the items of these 20 people, Yi Xian's true essence strength increased by a lot. At this moment, his devouring points had reached more than 9 million. He was just a little bit away from 10 million. Then, he returned to the sentry tower. "Since you're here, why don't you dare show yourself?" Suddenly a shout rang out. Yi Xian looked over 100 meters away and saw a figure appear at the entrance of the tower. It should be a peak true element realm expert. "Don't dare." Yi Xian sneered and walked straight out. When the experts of the Great Zhou dynasty saw him, they were shocked. Only one person. Just you. The peak true element realm expert was surprised. Only one person dared to come. He was courting death. "Yes, just me. But why do I feel like I can kill all of you by myself?" Yi Xian suddenly laughed. "Ha ha, this is too funny. You want to kill all of us by yourself?" Suddenly someone laughed. The Great Tang Dynasty's crown prince, Tang Tian. Although I have never seen him before, I have seen his portrait. If it was Tang Tian, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to stop him. However, you are not him. The peak true energy boundary cultivator shook his head. "Yes, I am not Tang Tian, but I feel like I can kill all of you," Yi Xian said as he took out his cold light sword. End of chapter. Chapter 171. Is that so? Then come and try. The martial artist at the peak of the true energy boundary also took out a large blade. It was obviously not an ordinary weapon. The two sides were in a deadlock for about 2 seconds. Kill. A huge battle was about to break out. In an instant, countless attacks swept towards Yi Xian. But before that, Yi Xian's body had already formed a layer of protection. Lotus armor. The 30 people around him were all geniuses of the true energy boundary, but the difference between them and Yi Xian was too great. Their attacks did not pose any threat to him. The only one who could truly threaten Yi Xian was this martial artist at the peak of the true energy boundary in front of him. However, his threat only lasted for a second. Roar of the tiger and wolf. Gotcha! Yi Xian dodged his large blade in an instant and punched his heart. His sternum shattered as the violent true energy tore his heart apart. Instant kill. More importantly, Yi Xian still withstood the attacks of 30 people and killed him in an instant. What? He was killed in an instant? Impossible, he's not Tang Tian. He can't have such strength. His fist and speed are so fast. Even a martial artist who trains his body can't be so fast. His defensive martial art is about to break. Everyone continue attacking. Those who originally wanted to escape had their eyes lit up when they saw Yi Xian's lotus armor withstanding a large number of attacks. But in the next moment, they dispersed in an uproar. How naive. Did they think that they could kill Yi Xian just because they defeated his lotus armor? Just now, Yi Xian only used the lotus armor to kill people. Now that he was here, why would he stand there and let others hit him? After taking the universe ring of the martial artist at the peak of the true energy boundary, he instantly turned into a shadow and stepped on a lotus, sweeping in front of everyone. Gotcha! 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 A series of crisp sounds rang out. One by one people fell down. They all died from having their hearts crushed. Some of them realized that they were no match for Yi Xian, so they quickly turned around and fled. Naturally, Yi Xian would not let these people go. He clenched his left hand and the star-chasing bow appeared in his hand. Sharpshooter. This chapter is not finished, please turn the page. Yixian gave priority to those who tried to escape. In less than 10 seconds, all 30 of them died at the hands of Yixian. At the same time, Yixian devoured all of their Qin Kuan rings. 1 million devour points. Awesome! Yixian roared in his heart. He had already killed the 50 people guarding the bottom of the stone tower. Now it was time to deal with the people guarding the stone tower. Immediately, he condensed a true yuan lotus flower and rushed in. The enemy is here. Everyone be careful. Someone shouted. However, before he could finish his sentence, he had already become a corpse. Yixian began a frenzied slaughter. Every time he killed someone, he would take their Qian Kuan ring. The true spirit realm cultivators of the Great Zhou dynasty had all been sent to the Great Tang dynasty's territory. Therefore, the people guarding the stone tower were all elites. However, their attacks were completely useless against Yixian. Yixian killed his way up. He was invincible. No one could withstand even one of his attacks. However, after he killed more than 20 people, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He had already reached the center of the stone tower. There was a large open space here, which was very suitable for battle. However, there was not a single person here. No, there was someone here. Although Yixian could not see with his eyes, the supersonic bat sent back information that there were 10 people on this large platform. At this moment, Yixian's intermediate formation breaking master bloodline suddenly reacted. After accumulating enough points, Yixian upgraded all the bloodlines in his body that could be upgraded, including his formation breaking master bloodline. So it's an illusory formation. A smoke screen. Yixian suddenly grinned. Although he could not see anyone with his eyes, he could sense their location. Moreover, he had already found the flaw in this formation. It's not fun to break the formation. Let's go. Yixian smiled again. He deliberately deactivated his lotus armor and rushed in with his sword. When these people saw Yixian rush in without any protection, they immediately smiled. Under someone's instructions, they suddenly launched an attack. Kill. 10 attacks were launched at Yixian in unison. However, before they could finish speaking, Yixian had already formed a lotus. His true energy lotus appeared. At the same time, his figure flashed and dodged all the attacks. Haha. Do you think I don't know there's someone here? Yixian's hearty voice rang in everyone's ears, shocking them. By the time they reacted, 4 people had already died at the hands of Yixian. At the same time, a muffled sound was heard. Then the illusory formation on the ground collapsed. There were only 6 people left. Kill. A young man with sword-like eyebrows shouted and charged forward. Yixian snorted coldly and punched him in the chest. Then the young man fell limp and died with his eyes wide open. Yixian noticed that the true energy flowed to his feet. In other words, he was the one who set up the illusory formation. It's said that not many people know how to set up formations. You can be considered a genius. However, I specialize in stepping on geniuses like you. Rest in peace. Yixian said to the young man's corpse and then charged forward again. This young man was already the most powerful person in the pagoda. In other words, the remaining dozen people were nothing to be afraid of. Not long after, the dozen people became corpses. Yixian reached the top of the pagoda and punched the pagoda stone. The 4th pagoda stone of the Great Zhou dynasty has been destroyed. A person's voice sounded in the sky. Now the Great Zhou dynasty only had 1 pagoda stone left. As long as it was destroyed, the Great Tang dynasty would win. Haha. Yixian cracked a smile. He had destroyed 2 pagoda stones by himself. This was a good result. Then he devoured everything and his devour point soared again, reaching more than 14 million. However, this was not enough. If he wanted to level up, he had to go to the 4th pagoda. Now that the Great Zhou dynasty only has 1 pagoda stone left, Tang Tian should be there too. When the time comes, we will join forces. What is 300 people? Yixian licked his lips. If possible, he would like to face it alone. 300 people. That was 300 interspatial rings. If he could get his hands on them, he would definitely be able to break through to the true darkness realm. At this thought, Yixian set off immediately. He only wanted to be there half an hour before Tang Tian. In half an hour, He would definitely destroy the pagoda stone on the pagoda alone. End of chapter. Chapter 172. However, things were not always smooth sailing. By the time Yixian found the last sentry tower of the Great Zhou dynasty, 3 hours had already passed. At the same time, there was already a battle under the sentry tower. It really is Tang Tian. Damn it, we can't let him steal too much. Kill. Yixian did not hesitate and immediately killed his way out. At the same time, under the 4th sentry tower of the Great Zhou dynasty, hundreds of people were already fighting. The crown prince of the Great Tang dynasty, Tang Tian, was rushing towards the sentry tower under the protection of 2 elites at the peak of the true energy realm. Before Yixian came out, he had investigated and found that there were more than 250 people under the sentry tower. There were 3 layers of people guarding the sentry tower. Even Tang Tian could not withstand the attacks of so many people. If he wanted to enter, he would need to put in some effort. Your Highness, we have killed more than 30 people this time. It's about time. Let's retreat and recover. Otherwise, we won't have enough true energy. A peak of the true energy realm from the Great Tang dynasty said. No, victory is right in front of us. This is the last tower. As long as we destroy the tower suppression stone, we will have a chance to enter the heavenly abode. That is the heavenly abode. Tang Tian shouted. He was not just anyone, he was the crown prince of the Great Tang dynasty. He knew what the heavenly abode represented. Before the assessment, he was tested to have an outstanding talent. Even if he did not participate in the assessment, he could still be accepted into the heavenly abode. However, he decided to participate in the assessment. After so many years, many people from the Great Tang dynasty had entered the Soaring Heaven Mansion. However, none of them had entered the heavenly abode. As long as he could enter the heavenly abode, the entire situation of the North region would change. The 4th tower suppression stone of the Great Tang dynasty has been destroyed. At this moment, the voice of the examiner rang in the sky. After hearing this, Tang Tian's eyes became determined. He shouted, "We can't retreat. Kill all the way." The 2 guards looked at each other and could only nod silently in the end. They were also from the Great Tang dynasty and were trained by the royal family. Hence, they were extremely loyal to Tang Tian. Kill! Tang Tian shouted. He went against the countless sword lights and slowly approached the stone tower. However, right at that moment, a series of explosions rang out from nearby, along with the screams of some people. Everyone be careful. This chapter is not finished, please turn the page, enemies. When this sentence landed in Tang Tian's ears, his eyes lit up. Were the people from the Great Tang dynasty finally here? Haha, victory is mine. Kill, kill, kill. Tang Tian and the other 2 people's morale soared. The person who suddenly attacked was naturally Yixian. However, he had come out from behind the enemy. Tang Tian was the crown prince of the Great Tang dynasty and possessed an endless amount of wealth. Whatever he wanted, the imperial family would give him. However, Yixian was different. He was just a small fry, so he had to earn his own cultivation resources. Therefore, every time he killed someone, he had to collect the interspatial ring. Buddha's hand. Horizontal line spiritual slash. Tiger wolf roar. Myriad flower sword. Yixian was also in a killing frenzy. He had only joined the battle for less than 10 seconds, but he had already killed over 20 people. That unparalleled speed and the lotus armor formed by the true energy of the peak of the true energy boundary made him fearless of anyone's attacks. As he killed, he moved closer to Tang Tian. As long as the 2 of them worked together, they could directly rush into the stone tower. Now the 4th stone of the Great Tang dynasty and the Great Zhou dynasty had already been destroyed. Although the former had just given a warning, they could not let their guard down. After all, what if the other party was attacking from both sides? Who knew, the people from the Great Zhou dynasty might have already reached the 5th stone of the Great Tang dynasty. Therefore, they had to end the battle quickly. And Tang Tian seemed to have the intention of meeting up with Yixian. He moved closer to Yixian. Half a minute later, they also successfully met up. However, when Tang Tian saw Yixian, he was shocked. Although this face was unfamiliar, he could sense the identity token of the Great Tang dynasty on Yixian. He was on the same side. Why is it only you? Tang Tian was shocked. Yixian snorted in his heart and shouted, "It's just me, it's enough." After saying that, he slashed with his sword. One word: Spirit Light Slash. A middle-grade spirit-level martial art coupled with the realm of the peak of the true energy boundary allowed this slash to directly cut a few people in half. This move was very useful, but the only drawback was that after using it once, the meridians would be blocked and could not be used continuously. It required a period of time to recuperate. So strong, he's not from those high-ranked empires. Where did he come from? Tang Tian felt that Yixian's face was very unfamiliar. At that moment, a thought flashed through his mind. Could it be that this person is from the Great Zhou dynasty and pretended to be from the Great Tang dynasty? First, he wanted to kill the chicken to warn the monkey, then sneak up on me? Tang Tian's eyes suddenly froze. If that was really the case, then it was dangerous. "Brother, help me open up a path, I want to rush up." Tang Tian shouted at Yixian. "No problem," Yixian said very straightforwardly. He immediately picked up the cold light sword, then rushed up like an arrow and started to beat people crazily. Pagoda hand. Pagoda hand. He started to use a middle-grade spirit-level martial art to open up a path, sending people flying, opening up a path for Tang Tian to reach the entrance of the stone pagoda. While Tang Tian was killing, he was also pondering. Yixian's strength already made him somewhat fearful. If Yixian was really from the Great Zhou dynasty and suddenly ambushed him at such a crucial moment, then... No, I'd rather kill wrongly than let him go. Tang Tian had already made up his mind. As long as Yixian helped him open up a path to the bottom of the stone pagoda, then he could rush to the top of the pagoda alone without the help of others. As long as the path was clear, then it would be time for him to kill Yixian. However, Yixian did not know of his plan, and was only doing his best to help him open up a path. He killed one person with one punch. His method was extremely ruthless. If it was a normal day, no one would doubt it. However, it was a war between empires. Sacrificing so few people in exchange for victory, what was wrong with that? The more Tang Tian thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong. His left hand was already secretly gathering spiritual power. With the addition of Yixian, the pressure on Tang Tian lessened by a lot. Very quickly, he rushed to the bottom of the stone pagoda. "All right, you go up, I'll help you block." Yixian innocently turned his head and shouted, "Thank you." Tang Tian thanked him and rushed up like an arrow. However, when he passed by Yixian, he suddenly threw out a punch. Upper-grade spirit-level martial art, Wind Cloud Palm. Tang Tian's sudden attack was out of Yixian's expectations. However, the latter's reaction was not slow either. In a flash, he completed a series of actions. End of chapter. Chapter 173. Motherf asterisk Ker, you ungrateful dog, Azure Dragon Strength. Die for me. Boom. A fist and a palm collided. The collision of the two different types of energy instantly created 1,000 layers of shockwaves. The two guards at the peak of the true energy boundary did not even have time to react before they were pushed back. Then they saw the crown prince of the Great Tang dynasty, Tang Tian, fly out. How was this possible? But this was the truth. What Yixian used just now was not a lower-grade spiritual level martial art. It was a middle-grade spiritual level martial art, the Azure Dragon Strength. Although Tang Tian was using a high-grade spirit level martial art, Yixian had a pair of mid-grade spirit artifacts, the Heavenly Silkworm Snow Silkworm hands. Adding his strength, it was more than enough to send Tang Tian flying. Your Highness. After the two guards at the peak of the true energy boundary were shocked, they quickly dashed towards Tang Tian. As for Yixian, he covered his left arm and took a few steps back. Although he had sent Tang Tian flying, his opponent had used a palm technique. The energy had directly penetrated his left arm. Immediately, he spent a large amount of devouring points to exchange for a healing pill and swallowed it. Damn it, I will remember this. Yixian did not care about his opponent and did not enter. He just guarded the entrance of the stone tower. He felt that the Great Zhou dynasty would not be able to kill their way to the Great Tang dynasty's 5th century tower so quickly. Hence, he wanted to continue and obtain more universe rings. From the time he joined the battle until now, he had only killed slightly more than 40 people, and obtained slightly more than 40 universe rings. At this moment, Tang Tian had also returned with the help of the two guards. Where are you from? Tang Tian asked loudly. his left hand trembling. The Great Tang Dynasty. Yi Xian only replied with 4 words. He also knew that Tang Tian had only attacked him because he suspected him. Then why are you blocking the entrance? One of the guards beside Tang Tian shouted. Then why don't you ask your master why he attacked me? Yi Xian's eyes widened. If not for Tang Tian's sudden sneak attack, the battle would have ended. Tang Tian also could not figure out which side Yi Xian was on, so he continued to ask. Then what will make you willing to move aside? Just now Yi Xian's punch had also stunned him. If Yi Xian suddenly defected to the Great Zhou Dynasty, he would be worth at least 200 geniuses of the Great Zhou Dynasty. And after killing for so long, he once again used a high-grade spirit-level martial art. Therefore, there was not much Xian Qi left in his body. If he were to use another high-grade spirit-level martial art, he would have to retreat and recover. 50 interspatial rings, Yi Xian stated. All right. Tang Tian agreed and started killing people. He knew that Yi Xian was doing this for the Heaven and Earth Ring and not for victory. No matter which side Yi Xian belonged to, as long as it was for the sake of profit, everything was negotiable. 50 people to Tang Tian and the other 2 was not a difficult task. At this time the battle had already been going on for quite some time. More than half of the 250 people on the ground had been killed. As long as they killed a few more, the remaining people would probably flee. Very quickly, the target of 50 people was reached, and Yi Xian took this opportunity to kill more than 30 people. For you. Tang Tian and the other 2 gathered the interspatial rings and threw them to Yi Xian. Yi Xian caught them and immediately ran in a direction, opening a path for them. I'll go up, you guys guard the door. Tang Tian saw this and immediately shouted to the 2 guards. Yes. Yi Xian glanced at them and snorted in his heart. The direction he was running in was where Tang Tian started. Tang Tian was not short of money, so he did not collect the interspatial rings after killing people. There were many corpses there. Not good, Tang Tian is already rushing up. What do we do? We're going to lose. What else can we do? Run, at least we'll still be alive if we lose, even if it's the Huang residence. At this time there were only a few dozen people left on the ground. Immediately they scattered. Finally started to run. TSK, stay here for me. Yi Xian suddenly stopped and took out his star-chasing bow. Sharpshooter. 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 Although his left hand was injured, after consuming a few 100,000 devour points worth of healing pills, it was completely healed. Of the geniuses who ran, more than 20 were killed by Yi Xian. As for the rest, Yi Xian was too lazy to chase them. Cleaning up the battlefield was more important. He quickly cleaned up without counting. He directly threw the items into the devour space. 9 million devour points? When Yi Xian saw the explosive increase in his body, he was shocked. After accumulating the points, he was also shocked. Not only that, but the true yuan in his body had also expanded by a lot. He could already feel that he was just a little bit away from breaking through that shackle. He did not think further and quickly rushed to the bottom of the stone tower. Stop right there. When the 2 guards at the peak of the true energy realm saw that Yi Xian wanted to enter, they immediately stopped him. Get out of my way. The 2 guards were easily sent flying by Yi Xian. If not for Tang Tian, they would have been dead already. Yi Xian rushed into the stone tower. As expected, Tang Tian did not take the universe rings. Haha, I'm lucky. I'll take them. Yi Xian was overjoyed and started to take the universe rings again. 5 stones. 10 stones. 15 stones. 20 stones. The 2 guards also rushed in, but they were not as fast as Yi Xian, who was taking the universe rings and climbing the tower at the same time. Just as Yi Xian collected 30 stones, a loud sound came from the sky. The Great Zhou Dynasty's 5th pagoda stone has been destroyed. The Great Tang Dynasty wins. When they heard this voice, everyone stopped what they were doing. It's over? Yeah. The Great Tang Dynasty's geniuses roared at the sky. It was finally over and they had won. However, Yi Xian could not be bothered. He still had many universe rings that he had not collected. When he collected the last person's universe ring, he finally reached the top of the tower. At this time there was already a person at the top of the tower. It was Tang Tian, who looked pale and weak because he had exhausted a lot of his celestial qi and physical strength. Tang Tian looked at Yi Xian, who was charging over with a face full of vigilance. He asked, "Where exactly are you from?" When Yi Xian heard this, he snorted, "I'm on your side." "Are you sure?" Tang Tian glared at him. "It's over now. What's the use of lying to you?" Yi Xian continued to snort. Just as those words left his mouth, the old voice rang out in the sky again. "The battle between the dynasties has ended. No one is allowed to fight anymore. Those who violate this rule will be disqualified." Initially there were still people fighting, but now they had no choice but to fight. They did not know if there would be envoys from the Soaring Sky Mansion riding on soaring skyrocks watching them from the sky. "If you're really from the Great Tang Dynasty's camp, I'm willing to apologize for my actions just now." Tang Tian was a person who knew when to let go, so he immediately cupped his fists and said, "End of chapter." Chapter 174. Yi Xian did not say anything. He could not be bothered with him and began to rummage through the items in the universe rings. To be honest, if Tang Tian was not the crown prince of the Great Tang Dynasty, he would have taken the opportunity to kill him when he sent Tang Tian flying. As the crown prince of the Great Tang Dynasty, his universe rings must be of high quality. They must be filled with cultivation resources. It was a pity that Tang Tian's identity was extraordinary. If he killed him, the profound Sun Empire would definitely be destroyed. "Everyone, please follow the instructions and gather at the nearest sentry tower." The voice of the examiner sounded in the sky again. Immediately after, Yi Xian could not help but look up. He discovered that a soaring sky rock had begun to descend slowly. As expected, there was a soaring sky rock on every sentry tower. There are hundreds of soaring sky envoys who have gone to various empires to receive people. I am afraid that these people are watching our every move from above the valley, Yi Xian thought to himself. Very quickly, the soaring sky rock descended to the top of the sentry tower. Then a person jumped up. When Yi Xian saw the person clearly, he was shocked. This person was the Soaring Sky Mansion envoy Mo1, who had gone to the Profound Sun Empire to receive the three of them. Yi Xian, not bad. Mo1 jumped over and said to Yi Xian, "Senior, you flatter me," Yi Xian said humbly. Tang Tian also had some impression of Mo1. Now, he could also confirm that Yi Xian was indeed from the Great Tang Dynasty. Mo1 did not say much. He took out some red plants from his universe ring and lit them up. After the red plants were burned, they produced thick red smoke. Moreover, the smoke could rise to a very high place and would not be blown away by the wind. If there were people around, they could follow the red smoke to the stone tower. At the same time, Yi Xian also emptied the plants and swallowed them. Regrettably, he still could not break through to the true profundity realm. His body was still full of true essence and not profound qi. However, Yi Xian was satisfied. His ability had improved a lot compared to before. After all, every time he swallowed something, the strength of his true essence would increase. Even though they were all at the pinnacle of the true essence realm, there was still a difference. Right now, Yi Xian's devouring points had already exceeded 20 million. He was very close to 25 million. If he had not changed to a medium-grade spiritual level martial art. TSK. Yi Xian laughed loudly in his heart as he faced nearly 25 million devour points. He'd already forgotten how many points he had when he entered the valley. In any case, it was very rare. However, if he wanted to upgrade all of his bloodlines to the high rank, these devouring points would be far from enough. Just the 100 Beast bloodline alone was already more than enough. However, he had already filled up the 100 Beast essence blood slot. As long as his cultivation level was high enough, he would be able to fuse with it. There was no need to buy it with devouring points. After that, Yi Xian rode on Mo when soaring skyrock and started to wander around to pick up people. Some were from the Great Zhou Dynasty, while others were from the Great Tang Dynasty. He just didn't know how many survivors were left in the two dynasties. As for Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian, they also heard the voice in the sky and walked out from their hidden cave. Then they were taken away. A few days later, everyone was taken to the front of a valley. Many envoys from the Lingxiao mansion had come as well. The two main examiners of the dynasty battle stood on one side. Yi Xian brought Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian to Elder Yang Tai's camp. Guardians, start identifying people. If you find anyone standing in the wrong place, immediately disqualify them. Yang Tai shouted. The Tang dynasty had won this dynasty battle. Under normal circumstances, no one from the Tang dynasty would go to the Great Zhou dynasty. However, it was uncertain whether someone would pretend to be from the Tang dynasty camp. When the guardians heard the order, they immediately brought the people to the side. However, not all of them were still alive. Many had died in the dynasty battle. Imowen also jumped down. Then he brought Yixian and Zhaopan to the side. This dynasty battle is too intense. I remember that there were more than 500 people at the start. Now there are only 200 people left, Zhaopan said in shock after doing a rough calculation. This can't be helped. After all, 4 of our sentry towers were taken down. Here there are more than 200 people. This chapter is not finished yet. Please turn the page. Also, when they met the enemy in the forest and a group battle broke out, they died in groups. It is not bad to have more than 200 people left, Yixian said slowly. At the same time, he glanced at the Great Zhou dynasty camp. The other side only had 100 people left. More than 400 people had died. It was estimated that half of them had died at his hands. The guardians had finished identifying people. No one from the Great Zhou dynasty had pretended to be from the Tang dynasty. Since the Tang dynasty had won, they would lose the second round and enter the Hell's Manor. Even if the Great Zhou dynasty won the second round, they would only enter the Profound department. Although the difference between the Hell's Manor and the Profound department was only 1 level, the difference was still quite big. After the guardians had finished identifying, Elder Yang Tai suddenly fell silent. Then Imowen asked, Yixian, your performance in this dynasty battle was not bad. I hope you can continue in the second round. This Mo1, could it be that he has been following me? Yixian was astonished. However, he did not think too much about it and immediately nodded in response. Then Mo1 turned his head to look at Zhaopan and Jiang Xian. He said, even though the Great Tang dynasty has won the battle and can enter the Profound department at the very least, those who survived will not be able to enter the Profound department. With the abilities of the 2 of you, it will be difficult for you to enter the Profound department. At this moment, Yixian thought of a problem. He said, Brother Fatty, how is your martial arts practice? Zhaopan did not even think about it. He sighed and said, if we were given a month, we might be able to. However, it has only been a few days. I am afraid I have not even touched the threshold. Yes, me too. Jiang Xian also nodded. This was going to be troublesome. Yixian did not take the time into account. Now that Zhaopan did not have the medium-grade spiritual level martial arts, it would not be easy for him to pass the assessment. Are you practicing the medium-grade spiritual level martial arts? If you have mastered it, you might have a chance. However, if you have not, the chances are not high. As Mo1 spoke, his gaze landed on Yixian. He continued, if you want to enter the Lingxiao Manor, you must survive the second round of the dynasty battle. This is the first condition. The second condition is to gain our approval. Yixian is enough, but the 2 of you are not. This is because the quota is limited and the Hell's Manor only has 20. 20. Yixian was shocked. He said, that is to say, out of these 200 people, only 20 will enter the Profound department. If it is the heavenly abode, the number will be less than half? End of chapter. Chapter 175. The number of recognized quotas is related to the dynasty's ranking. If you lose the second round, then 20 people will enter the Hell Manor. If you win, then 10 people will enter the best heavenly abode. Mo1 replied. So that's how it is. Yixian nodded. However, only 10 people could enter the heavenly abode. This condition was a little too harsh. There were at least 2,000 people in the 4 big dynasties. Even if the Great Tang dynasty got second place, they would only have 20 quotas. Also, Zhaopan and Jiang Xian were only at the beginning stage of the true energy realm. There were many people stronger than them. However, just then Mo1 suddenly said, if you choose to give up on the second round of the dynasty battle, then I can send the 2 of you directly to the Profound department manor. Really? Hearing this, Zhaopan and Jiang Xian's eyes lit up. That's right. Mo1 nodded and said, however, with your qualifications, It will be a little difficult for you to enter the profound department manner. Also, after you enter, you will feel a huge pressure. If you do not meet the requirements, then you will be demoted to the yellow department manner. If you do not meet the requirements, you will be expelled from the Lingxiao manner. Being expelled from the sect was not uncommon, so Zhao Pan was not surprised. I am willing to give up and enter the profound department manner, Zhao Pan said hurriedly. Me too. All right. Mo1 nodded again. Yixian, your ability is not bad. I will leave a spot for you as long as you can survive. Actually, Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian would at most enter the yellow department manner. However, Mo1 thought highly of Yixian, so he gave him special treatment. Thank you, Lord Envoy. Yixian hurriedly thanked him. However, he felt that with his ability, he definitely had the ability to get a quota. After all, he was someone who could even send Tang Tian flying. The other protectors were also asking questions. Soon they left with their men. After the first round of the dynasty battle, there was a 3-day break. After 3 days, the second round of the dynasty battle would begin. The winner would fight the winner, and the loser would fight the loser. This would determine the final order. Yixian chose to continue, so Mo1 brought him to another place to stay. As for Zhao Pan and Jiang Xian, they were directly sent to the profound department manor. Fatty Bro has finally entered the soaring heaven mansion. Yixian breathed a sigh of relief. Now that he was the only one participating in the second dynasty battle, he felt a lot more relaxed. He didn't have to worry about Zhao Pan and the other two anymore. After entering the soaring sky mansion, if one did not meet the requirements, there was a risk of being expelled. However, Fatty Bro entered the profound department. If he did not meet the requirements, he would first be demoted to the yellow department. After entering the yellow department, if he did not meet the requirements of the yellow department, he would be expelled from the sect. As long as Zhao Pan didn't leave the soaring heaven mansion, the profound Sun Empire would be protected. Not many people would dare to make a move against the profound Sun Empire. 3 days later, the second battle between the dynasties would begin. He wondered which dynasty his opponent would be. The Great Tang Dynasty, the Great Zhou Dynasty, the Great Song Dynasty, and the Great Yan Dynasty. The Great Tang Dynasty and the Great Zhou Dynasty were similar in strength, while the Great Song Dynasty and the Great Yan Dynasty were the strongest. To be precise, the Great Song Dynasty was slightly stronger. Simply put, the Great Tang Dynasty's next opponent would be either the Great Song or the Great Yan. This was a little troublesome because these two dynasties both had super geniuses in the intermediate stage of the true profundity realm. Yixian was also relatively calm. After all, he could enter the Hell department at the very least, which was already considered not bad. Right now, he was in the intermediate stage of the true profundity realm. He was just a little bit away from breaking through to the true profundity realm. Although he was just a little bit away, it was not something that could be improved by selling a medium-grade spiritual weapon. Moreover, he did not have the materials to forge a medium-grade spiritual weapon. However, he did have a medium-grade spiritual level martial art that was not bought from the Devouring system. It was the Buddha's hand that he got from Lin Zhirong. However, the second battle between the dynasties would be in 3 days. In such a short time, others would not be able to learn it. My head hurts. How can I level up? Yixian shook his head helplessly. However, he could not think of any solution. It seemed that he could only level up in the second battle between the dynasties. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared outside his courtyard. This person did not knock on the door and just walked in directly. After seeing this person, Yixian's expression froze. This was because this person was the Great Tang Dynasty's crown prince, Tang Tian. Your Highness, what's the matter? Yixian did not get up. He just sat there and asked. Tang Tian snorted coldly in his heart. He walked in front of Yixian and cupped his fists. I have offended you that day. Please forgive me. It's fine. Although I have an identity token, Your Highness has never seen me before. It's normal that you don't recognize me, Yixian said casually. All right. I'm here today for other matters. I'll get straight to the point, Tang Tian said. Tang Tian said, this time for my Great Tang Dynasty to be able to win, you also contributed a lot. However, in the next battle, we will be facing an opponent stronger than the Great Zhou Dynasty. Although I don't know who it is, the Song dynasty and the Yan dynasty both have people in the intermediate stage of the true profundity realm. I can't beat them alone. I need your help. I'm also from the Great Tang dynasty. Your Highness, you don't have to worry, Yixian said. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that I want you to listen to my orders, Tang Tian said hurriedly. Orders? Yixian narrowed his eyes. Orders meant that he would be Tang Tian's underling. He would do whatever Tang Tian wanted him to do. What kind of joke was this? No. Yixian refused immediately. I can give you a reward that will definitely satisfy you, Tang Tian added. Hearing this, Yixian hesitated. However, he thought about what if Tang Tian wanted him to attract the opponent's genius in the intermediate stage of the true profundity realm. Wouldn't that be asking him to die? No, I have my own thoughts. I will act on my own. Yixian still refused. Hearing this, Tang Tian immediately raged. Are you ignoring my identity, or are you doubting my ability? Before he came, he had done his homework and knew that Yixian came from a low-level empire. For someone from a low-level empire to be able to talk to him like this, it was already good enough. How dare he reject him? He really didn't know what was good for him. Yixian didn't buy it. He snorted. So what if you're the crown prince of a dynasty? I'm in the soaring heaven mansion now. There's no identity here, only power. Before he fought with Tang Tian, Yixian was still worried. However, after seeing Tang Tian's power, his confidence increased. If they really fought, it was hard to say who would win. What a big tone. Don't forget your identity. Your empire, I can send people to destroy it in minutes. Seeing that the temptation was not working, Tang Tai began to threaten. Yixian's face darkened. He said softly, Your Highness, are you trying to push me to an opponent? When he said this, Tang Tian's body trembled. End of chapter. Chapter 176. It was obvious that Yixian was not someone who would cower before the strong. If he really switched sides, then the Great Tang dynasty would have no chance of winning. He immediately regretted it and said coldly, All right, then I will take a step back. You will assist me, but do not act on your own. If necessary, listen to my orders. Yixian also sneered. It seemed that Tang Tian was also afraid that he would turn to his opponent's side. This was for the best. He could negotiate the conditions. Crown Prince, what benefits do I get from assisting you? Yixian suddenly smiled. 100 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones. Tang Tian replied without thinking. Hearing this price, Yixian laughed out loud. Crown Prince, are you joking with me? You want to hire me with just 100 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones? 100 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones was equivalent to 10,000 low-grade crystal stones. It was about the same price as a small team of 20 people previously. Without waiting for Tang Tian to speak, Yixian said again, 2,000 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones, or else there is no negotiation. Tang Tian immediately said unhappily, Such big words, aren't you afraid of dying? Humph, I did not argue with you when you sneaked an attack on me previously. Furthermore, I have already reached the bottleneck. Who knows, I might be able to break through to the true profound realm on the day of the assessment. When that time comes, I will be on the same level as you. Yixian smiled. Tang Tian was the crown prince of the Great Tang dynasty. He definitely had many good things in his universe ring. He did not believe that Tang Tian could not take out 200,000 low-grade crystal stones. Tang Tian felt it for a moment and felt the true essence that Yixian was intentionally emitting. As expected, the strength was already on the verge of breaking through. However, 2,000 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones was not a small amount. It was equivalent to 200,000 low-grade crystal stones, which could buy a high-grade spirit weapon. 1,000 pieces of middle-grade crystal stones. Tang Tian started to bargain. Unexpectedly, after Yixian heard the price, he turned and left, preparing to rest in his room. All right, 2,000. Tang Tian gritted his teeth and agreed. He had also experienced Yixian's strength. Although it was not on par with him, if he had Yixian's help, he would have the ability to face that middle-stage true profound realm expert. Even if you don't have enough crystals, you can use heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yixian smiled faintly and stretched out his hand. Tang Tian suppressed his anger and started to pour out the items from the Qian Kuan ring. Furthermore, the prices of some of the items grid was very unstable. He had taken out quite a few things. Yi Xian put everything away and said with a smile, "Your Highness, I will be in seclusion for 3 days. Please return." After he finished speaking, he went straight into the house. After sensing that Tang Tian had left, he immediately swallowed more than half of the things he had obtained, leaving behind some for future use. Ding, the host has broken through to the true profound realm. When the system notification rang out, Yi Xian's true essence was completely converted into Xian Qi. This was the benefit of the devouring system. When an ordinary person broke through, they would need to spend some time to convert their true essence. However, he did it all in an instant. Finally, I'm at the true profound realm. Yi Xian grinned and tried again. As expected, he was still unable to fuse with the high-grade blood meridians. Forget it, 45 million devouring points. Let me see if there are any new good things. Yi Xian immersed himself in the devouring system. Every time he broke through, new things would appear. It could be martial arts, weapons, treasures, or blood meridians. It had to be mentioned that there was a limit to the number of blood meridians. This limit would increase as the realm increased. Otherwise, Yi Xian would have exchanged for all the middle-grade blood meridians and not carefully selected them to fuse with. 3 days passed in a flash. When the 3rd day arrived, Yi Xian was already waiting at the designated place. Soon the soaring sky rocks appeared again. However, what surprised Yi Xian was that the place they went to this time was not the valley from 3 days ago, but another one. Could it be that the rules for the second battle of the dynasties are different? Yi Xian was a little surprised. Tang Tian, who was nearby, was the same. The soaring sky rocks placed the 200 people at the bottom of a cliff. Then the elder of the soaring sky mansion said loudly, "This is the territory of the second battle of the dynasties. Your opponent has been decided. It is the Great Song Dynasty. As for the rules, it is very simple. Kill. As long as less than 50 people from the Great Zhou Dynasty die, you win. Similarly, if less than 50 people from the 200 of you die, you lose. Moreover, there is no time limit for this battle." When those words were spoken, the 200+ people present were all shocked. Less than 50 people? No time limit? However, I will give you a chance here. Now you can choose to withdraw. Those who withdraw can enter the yellow residence. Yang Tai added. The Great Tang Dynasty had already won one battle. If they lost this battle, then 20 people would enter the yellow residence. However, only 50 out of 200 people could survive. This was too cruel. Furthermore, their opponent was the Great Song Dynasty. The Great Song Dynasty was much stronger than the Great Tang Dynasty. Immediately, there were people who chose to withdraw, and there were quite a few of them. Damn it! Tang Tian cursed in the crowd. The battle had not even started, but the Great Tang Dynasty had already lost half of their people. People walked out one after another. Yi Xian did a rough calculation. Almost 100 people had left, which meant that there were only 100 people left. This isn't a good sign. Yi Xian felt extremely helpless in his heart. However, he also understood these people. After all, these people were not suicide squads. There was no need for them to risk their lives. It was already good enough that they could enter the yellow residence. Tang Tian's expression had already sunk to the bottom. He had spent a lot of money to get Yi Xian to help him. Who knew that the rules would be changed? Wasn't this a huge loss? Is there anyone who wants to withdraw? If not, let's begin. Yang Tai looked around again. Then let the soaring cloud rock fly up. The second battle between the dynasties had begun. After the elders and protectors left, the crowd was silent for a moment. Your Highness, what should we do now? Someone asked. Tang Tian walked out and thought for a moment. He said, we have 100 people who have left. The Great Song Dynasty should have more as well. Therefore, we are not considered to be weak. However, the Great Song Dynasty's strength is extraordinary. If we go head-to-head, our Great Tang Dynasty will definitely lose. At this moment, a person suddenly walked out from the side. Your Highness, I have a plan. Would you like to hear it? Everyone turned around and saw that the person who walked out was none other than Yi Xian from a low-ranked empire. End of chapter.